All right, good morning and welcome to the Michigan Law Show. My name is David Helm. I am a licensed practicing attorney in the state of Michigan. And on this channel, we cover various topics such as live trials, as we are doing today. We are picking up day 4 morning session of the Letecia Stauch case. Her trial has been going on now for, well, this is day 4, obviously. So all last week, or this past week rather, it started on Monday. We are taking Thursdays off, which is really nice. And then we continue on Friday and we'll go from there. It's expected to take about 8 weeks. So, yeah, so that's where we're at. We have, let's see here. We have some time before the trial actually starts and picks up again. It's supposed to pick up at 9 a.m. Colorado time, which is about, I don't know, 10, 12 minutes or so. And in the interim, I learned some new stuff. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Hopefully you all checked in with Nicholas's stream yesterday. I know I saw a lot of you out there on his stream. It was a great fundraiser for Zachariah Anderson's defense fund. And in case you missed it and you weren't there, this is about what we were doing the most of the time. We were doing some shots and tasting some herring in celebration of Swedish's Thursday Easter celebration. It was a good time. I would recommend you go check out the video. It was a lot of fun. And if you can subscribe or not subscribe, donate to Zachariah Anderson's defense fund. Anyways, the other thing, glad you guys were entertained. It was a lot of fun. I like doing stuff with Nicholas. I was showing, so I got a sort of a retraction. I was showing some images of a bloody mattress during this trial, and it's probably internet. It's partly my fault, I guess. I'm not a reporter, so checking sources isn't really necessarily my sort of go-to thing. I'm an attorney. I do my live streams here. And so I was showing this, and this is apparently not the mattress. So I did find some images of the actual mattress that were leaked. And so that's what I got word that there was a leaked photo of the mattress, and I saw that. And that was probably somebody just putting something together and putting it out there, and it got circulated around the internet. But this is the actual mattress photo that we have. So they're probably going to talk about it with some witnesses today. And this is all we have. It's a grainy black and white photo that was in a leaked affidavit. And so it does show still, though, a lot of blood. And the reports are still that it kind of soaked through, from what I gather, that it soaked through the floor and stained the carpet. But this is more of a, it's not in the center of the mattress, so it wouldn't go all the way through the mattress. It would go maybe off the side. But so I just wanted to clarify that. And then I also discovered this, which is supposedly, I don't know if you guys can see, the markings on the wall are indicating blood splatter, according to the authorities, and the cut up carpet. So there's a lot going on with this particular picture, although it's difficult to see as well. But I just wanted to make my retraction now that the photo I was showing earlier was not correct. So, break out the schnapps again. No, I will not be. Although I'm not as bad off as Nicholas was, or is, I guess, this morning. It's coffee for me today. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, everyone. I can't share in Messenger again. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Facebook. Apparently, you guys on Facebook are having a hard time messaging each other and doing things like that. I have no idea. I haven't been doing anything different. I don't know what's going on with Facebook. Let me see here. I had one other thing. I, again, was doing some internet sleuthing. I found this out. So apparently, Letecia, when she was in South Carolina, wanted to exonerate herself. And true to her form, as it appears from this trial thus far, she decided, instead of doing the honorable thing, say, I'll get a polygraph test, she requested a fake one from a company that's like fakepolygraphs.com. And she submitted her questions to fakepolygraphs.com. And then when they discovered that she was actually trying to cover up potentially a very serious criminal issue, they said, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. The police got their hands on it, though, and these are the questions that she submitted to the fake polygraph examiner that was supposed that she was going to then submit to the police and say, look, I got a polygraph and I passed. So I thought it would be interesting. I for a couple of reasons, I want to kind of go through these. So letters A through E there are her submitted questions. And it says, do you intend to answer these questions regarding your stepson truthfully? That's sort of a baseline question that they would ask. And she says, yes. Is your birthday August 4th, 1983? She says, yes. And then you're supposed to have 3 questions that really indicate that are really at the heart of the matter, the reason for the polygraph. And it's, did you participate in any way in causing harm to your stepson? And she says, no. And did your stepson return with you to your home? And she says, yes. Did you participate in any way in causing the death of your stepson? And she says, no, which is interesting. This is submitted by her prior to Gannon's body being found. So she's kind of hinting and implicating herself by saying that he's dead. And that was sort of the angle that was that a lot of other streamers and stuff were talking about. However, remember the phone calls that we had. Gannon's father had already questioned her about killing Gannon. So I think the question is probably a little bit more appropriate. I don't think she's tipping her hand too much with E, because it's already been put out there by Al and some other people, asking whether or not she killed Gannon. So I don't think that's out of the ordinary. I don't think that's necessarily tipping her hand, although it doesn't make her look good. It's not necessarily like a Freudian slip or anything like that. And then also, this is again in an affidavit, and 185 says, I submit to the court that if Letecia had nothing to hide, she would not have to pay for a fake polygraph exam. I disagree with that position as well. The reason I disagree with that is why you never, ever, ever want to talk to the police. And I want to give one brief example of a client of mine that was in an internet feud with a neighborhood group, Facebook association. They were in an internet feud, and they would I don't know, yell at each other online. So apparently, this guy called the police and said my client just tried to run her off the road while he was walking and she was driving her car through the neighborhood. And she wanted to give a statement to the police. And this is what she wanted to say to the police. She wanted to say, yes, we are in an internet feud. And I know who he is and I know where he lives. And as I was entering the sub the other day, I saw him walking. So I slowed down my vehicle, rolled down my window and yelled at him something and then drove off. And I said, okay, here's the problem. Even if we were to accept everything that you say is true, you put yourself first of all, you identify a motive. You admit to the motive. Then you put yourself at the time, place, and location of the crime. And all this prosecutor needs is the jury to believe that instead of you rolling down your window and yelling at him, you tried to run him off the road and they've got a conviction. So completely innocent statements can get you convicted. And we've seen innocent actions by Zachariah Anderson and other people that are being used to convict him. So you don't want to necessarily rely on a polygraph examination, fake or not, to give it to the police, because it can all be used to implicate you. And if you're going to submit to a polygraph exam, which I highly recommend nobody ever do, you typically would run a sort of a private one first to make sure that you're going to pass. And the polygraph is not admissible in court, but the polygraph can be used to to charge you. All right, I'm going to pull up the court screen here because I think we're getting some action. And given my issues that I had on Wednesday, I'm actually going to the name that shall not be mentioned feed unless and until I can get something else a little more stable up and running. But anyway, so I just disagree with the assessment that's made. I disagree with the idea of getting a fake polygraph exam in the first place. But yeah, again, would a fake person or would an insane person pay for a fake polygraph exam? Well, it definitely shows her ability to reason, doesn't it? Kind of goes against her claim of insanity and unable to control her actions and or know right from wrong. Let's see if I can get to some questions. Okay. Got 3 minutes. This court has not a bad habit, but a habit of just jumping straight into it before they even turn on the video. So I'm keeping an ear out for it. And I should probably turn the volume up. That would be good. And let me see here. Fix this up. Oh, that's not my computer monitor at the bottom, so I don't know what's going on there. I'm going to post Zacharias. By the way, if you guys go to my Facebook page, you can see Zacharias or Saul, I guess, the fundraiser that they're doing. It's posted at the top of my Facebook page. I'm also going to put it in the chat here so everyone can visit it again. Let me find that. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting the way people were talking about her fake polygraph exam. I don't find it to be terribly persuading one way or the other, actually, with the whole idea that she already knows he's dead. That's why she's asking about that particular question. People were accusing her of that already. I am. We're in Spartan. Go green. I am not a U of M fan. Sorry, guys. Well, there we go. All right. Yeah, beyond a reasonable doubt, the state has to prove her sane beyond a reasonable doubt. Right. That's what the state's.
Are you good to go? All right. Court will call 20 CR 1358, People versus Letecia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury is not present in the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time, Mr. Allen?
Yes, Judge. So prior to us starting trial, you had asked us to give you notification, and we're going to bring in any sensitive photos. So there will be some of those today. Some from the scene where the suitcase and Gannon's remains were found, but then also clothing. But more importantly, the suitcase we intend to bring in today, since the time that it was recovered in Florida, it's been in the freezer. It's got lots of fluid on it. So I intended to have that be the very last thing that I admit into evidence.
Actual suitcase?
It'll be in a plastic bag so that the jurors can see it and appreciate size and that kind of thing. And then what I would like to do is then once it's admitted, unless defense has any specific cross on that item, have it taken right back out. It will smell at the courtroom if we keep it here.
Mr. Tolini or Mr. Cook?
I would like to take it out. Yeah.
That's really damning.
You stopped it taken. I wasn't sure if it was cross-examination or what. So
I don't know if we cross-examination.
But it's okay to bring it in, take it right back out. Okay. All right. All right. So what witness is that going to be through?
Our very first one, Kelly Smith, will be our first witness this morning.
Okay. Okay.
And then what I would like to do, Judge, just because of the size of that exhibit, is probably have
suitcase.
the suitcase is have our investigator come in and actually just hold it for the witness, and then have that investigator show it to the jury, lift it up, and then when we're done, walk it back out.
All right. And I assume just substitute photographs for it.
I'm sorry?
Substitute photographs.
We have photos of it as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Just
polygraph, no, because it's.
Hold on just a second.
Yep.
It doesn't rise to the level of scientific certainty that you need generally.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine.
I've never heard of a case.
I'm sorry, go
where
ahead.
I was just
a
going to say,
polygraph has been
the photos,
in any
obviously, it's hard to get a good feel for
Right.
actual size.
No, and I understand that
Yeah.
part. So, okay.
Only to indict, not to convict.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to address before we bring the jury
Glad
in?
you're here. Welcome aboard.
Prosecution,
No, you're right. That was
defense?
No, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring them in.
Yeah, law and Chuck sucks. They have no excellent commentary like I can offer here.
no, she's
All right, so they're going to be bringing in the jury, and they have a real bad time with giving us the names of the witnesses, which is disappointing because I like to put it up on my banner and keep my notes. I have no idea what the name of the officer was that testified last yesterday, or on Wednesday rather. I just have sheriff officer.
Are you doing okay?
Come on, guys,
Okay.
fix your screen. We don't need to see the judge the whole time. Yeah, this is going to be another tough day of testimony. I agree. Yeah, this is good. I mean, this is good prosecutorial technique. The prosecutor's been
All
really
rise
good
for the
throughout
jury,
this
please.
case.
That's okay.
The defense, not so much.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
they'll figure it out one day. Move it over. You can slide it over and then minimize the judge. Just coming back to you, Gina B. Jones. Can you get me something about this? Where you heard this from?
Thank you. You may all be seated.
Be very
Court
odd.
will recall 20 CR 1358, People versus Letecia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury has returned to the courtroom. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start our day the same way that we have every other day, and that is, has anything occurred since we were last together that causes any of you to believe you could not continue to serve as a fair and impartial juror? If so, please raise your hand. No response? All right. With that, prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. We would call Kelly Smith.
All right.
Ooh, an easy name. Who is
Ms. Smith, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, ma'am. Good morning. You swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Good morning, ma'am. Will you please introduce yourself to our jury and spell your first and last name for the record?
Morning, I'm Kelly Smith, Keloismith.
And there's a microphone there. Slide it closer to you and try to speak into it so that everybody can hear you.
Okay,
Ms. Smith, who are you employed by?
Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
What do you do for the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office?
I'm a crime scene technician,
And just because we don't have a Santa Rosa County here in Colorado, where is that?
Florida.
All right. What's the biggest city in that county?
Milton?
Milton? Okay. Is that very near to Pensacola?
Yes,
Okay. And Pensacola is in what county?
Escambia County,
All
Florida.
right. And I think you said that you're a crime scene technician, is that right?
Yes, sir.
What education do you have that allows you to do that job?
I have several crime scene classes, water classes, suicidal classes that I've taken for the job, and then
Water
a 40-hour class that they gave me when I started.
The 40-hour class, is that the basic crime scene investigation class?
Yes,
Was that in 2019?
yes, sir.
Did you also take a crime scene processing class in 2020?
This is
Yes,
all foundational to qualify her as an expert.
You mentioned that you took a water class. Was that the aquatic abuse, death, and homicidal drowning investigations?
Yes,
Was that in 2021?
yes,
And then you said suicide investigations also? Is that right?
yes,
Okay.
sir.
Was that in 2022?
I believe so.
No court on Thursdays for this trial.
Let's
Every
see.
Thursday will be off for the judge.
What did you do
Other
before you
matters.
became a crime scene technician for Santa Rosa County Sheriff?
I was still employed at the sheriff's office as a 911 dispatcher,
How long did you work as a dispatcher?
13 years.
Not the same
What are the
thing.
duties associated with being a crime scene technician for Santa Rosa County?
Documentation, photograph, collection of evidence, packaging of the evidence to turn it in. We do dusting of the fingerprints and take DNA samples.
Is it common for you to actually go out to potential crime scenes?
Yes, sir.
Do you sometimes collect evidence from crime scenes?
Yes, sir.
Do you also occasionally attend autopsies?
Yes, sir.
Will you typically collect evidence from those autopsies
Yes, sir. And photograph.
and photographs? I want to direct your attention specifically to March 17th of 2020. Were you working as a crime scene technician back then?
Yes, sir.
Did you get a specific call to respond to the Escambia River Bridge on the report of a suitcase with a body inside of it?
Yes, sir.
What's that approximate location where you were called to?
The county line between Santa Rosa and Escambia.
And we had previous testimony from other people that had also gone to that bridge. It's sort of, if you look at a regular map with north being on the top, it looks like the bridge runs north to south, but it actually, I think, has a east-west lineage. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And as far as where you responded to, was that on the west side of the bridge
the
or
way
the
they
east side
said
of the
it, yeah.
bridge?
East side of the bridge.
Is it typical for you when you go to a scene like that to get briefed by somebody that's familiar with the investigation up to that point?
Yes, sir.
Did you have that occur here?
Yes, sir.
Who briefed you?
I don't remember. I don't recall on that one. Who
Okay.
the first person I spoke to?
Was it by chance Detective Jason Yoder?
Yes.
What was the information that you received from Detective Yoder when you got that first briefing?
That they had located a suitcase with a body in it under the bridge.
Did you have a chance to make your own visual observations of that area?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury just basically what you saw, and then at some point here in just a moment, we're going to get into some photographs.
I noticed we had to park on the other bridge, so I was able to look underneath the east bridge, and I'd just seen what appeared to be a suitcase and a material beside it from a distance. It just looked like material.
Did you have a chance also to view the scene from above, meaning on that bridge span looking down?
Yes.
Did it appear that the location where there was an indentation, that was where the suitcase was dropped from that bridge down to the ground below?
Yes, sir.
What color was that suitcase? Do you remember?
The olive green color.
Okay. Did you go up closer to the suitcase area?
Yes, sir.
You said that it looked like there was some fabric or something like that associated with the suitcase. When you got closer, could you tell what those things were?
You could see that it was a blanket and a body.
And then you mentioned earlier that it's very typical for you to take photos of scenes. Did you do that in this case?
Yes, sir.
At this point, I would like to approach and show the witness exhibit 77 through 85, which are
You may.
photographs.
All right, go ahead.
You could just look through people's exhibit 77 through 85 and then give me a heads up.
It's okay. This is the crime scene investigator. Just get you up to speed because you're special. I'll do it just for you.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize those?
Investigator
Yes, sir.
that
What are they?
investigated the suitcase.
These are the pictures around the suitcase that I've taken.
At the scene at the Escambia River Bridge?
Yes, sir.
Are they fair and accurate representations as to what you saw that day?
Yes, sir.
At this time, I'd move for admission of people 77 through 85.
Defense?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 77 through 85 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Permission published, Your Honor?
Give me just a minute, though.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
So Ms. Smith, this is going to be a little bit tricky for you, but I would like you to turn around in the witness stand there. Yep, you found the pointer. And then if you want to, you can actually stand up in the witness stand. But just please make sure when we're describing these photos that you speak loud enough so that the furthest juror from you can hear you.
Okay.
So point out for the jury what we're looking at there, please. And this is people's, I'm sorry, this is people 77 for the record.
These are the pylons to the bridge with the suitcase here, and from a distance, I could just tell it was material to the side of it.
Okay. And then people's exhibit 78.
Same thing. Suitcase with a different angle. I'm seeing on a different side of it.
Is that the way it appeared when you got up to the scene, that it was, everything had spilled out of the suitcase?
Yes, sir.
Okay. People's 79.
Just up close of the actual material and the victim here.
And, okay. And people's exhibit 80.
This is just the suitcase itself.
Was it apparent to you when you got on scene that there had been quite a bit of decomposition happening already?
Yes, sir, due to the coloring here and the bug activity that was there.
What kind of bug activity are we talking about?
Maggots.
Does that indicate that the suitcase had been out in this condition for a period of time?
Yes, sir.
People's exhibit 81. What are we looking at there?
Maggots.
This is what appeared to be a void spot. You were up on top of the bridge looking down. And then beside it, you could see everything's laid over and it's discolored, a little discolored from everything around it.
So is that looking from the span of the bridge down towards where the suitcase likely had dropped?
Yes.
Okay. And that's what it looked like for you when you stood there as well?
Yes, sir.
I wish we could see
Uh,
these photos.
82,
Be
I
really
believe is this 82 or 81?
81.
81. So please put up 82.
Just to get a sense of,
And is that just a
The
close up
scene.
of that last photograph?
Yes, sir.
Did that suitcase have one wheel on it?
I don't recall.
Okay. People's exhibit 83.
Just a side view of the suitcase.
And do you see a wheel on that bottom left of that photo?
Yes, sir.
So if we go back to 82, does it appear that that really deeper indention there would coincide with that wheel potentially?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then people's 84.
The inside of the suitcase.
It's hard to tell in photographs, but was the inside of that suitcase wet?
Very.
Is that common to have, I guess, a wet area like that when a body's decomposing?
Yes, sir.
85.
The backside of the suitcase, and it's wet. That's what the discoloration is there. Some liquid coming out.
So that darker area below the wheel there is liquid that had leaked out on the ground?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can take a seat again. And then that was on March 17th, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you also attend the autopsy on March 18th?
Yes, sir.
So tell the jury, was the body that went to the autopsy the same body that you saw on scene on March 17th?
Yes, sir.
How could you tell?
The clothing was the same. The condition was the same. Similar characteristics.
What about the blankets that you mentioned? Were those also at autopsy?
They were.
Did you collect a lot of those items during the autopsy?
I did.
All right. Do you also take photographs of the autopsy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where was that autopsy performed?
At Sacred Heart Hospital in Pensacola.
Was there a tentative identification done as to the remains that the autopsy was performed on?
Yes.
What was tentative identification made as?
Gannon
Gannon
Stauch.
Stauch, okay. Your Honor, may I approach with people's 87 through 102?
Okay, go ahead.
I wish they had a closer camera on the defendant because she's been doing a lot of weird things. And when it's my feed, I'm able to zoom in. Maybe I could try to get it up today. We'll see how it works. But she's been acting really
Actually
weird.
going up with people's exhibit 87 and then 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102. So there's a gap for physical evidence that we'll be admitting as well.
So it's 87 and then it jumps to 89 through 102?
87 and then 90.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
All be photos.
Same thing as before. If you could just
Come up
take a
to the
look at
camera.
those, then we'll get-
Well, no, maybe. I don't know what these are. I might not want to see them. I imagine some cross-examination regarding access to this site from the water and not much else, because that seems to be where the defense is going with this particular crime scene location. Seeming to indicate that
Have you had a chance to look at those?
Yes, sir.
put the body.
What are they generally speaking?
Pictures from the autopsy.
Are they fair
Evidence.
of evidence?
Mhm.
Are they fair and accurate representations as to what you saw during this autopsy and things that you collected?
Yes, sir.
At this time, I'd move for admission of 87 and then 90 through 102.
Defense?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibits 87 and 90 through 102 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Permission to publish those, Your Honor.
May.
So we've got 87 up on the board behind you, and same as before, Ms. Smith, if you could just stand up and then let the jury know what we're looking at there.
This is going to be the bullet that was extracted from the victim's head, and these two plastic pieces were in there.
So the bullet that we see there, that's a projectile.
Yes, sir.
Is that typically expelled out of the end of a firearm?
Yes, sir.
I know it seems obvious, but we got to be technical, right? What about those plastic pieces there? What do those appear to be?
From my understanding, they were part of the bullet.
Okay. And then you said that these were recovered during the autopsy. Do you remember where specifically?
Leave the head.
The head. And then I want to approach with people's 88 and 89.
Go ahead. No, that's fine.
I was going to answer this. As long as she's not disturbing the proceedings, she's going to be allowed to do whatever. And it's not,
Okay.
Do you recognize this item?
Yes.
the people aren't going
Does it appear
to
to be
care.
in the same or substantially same condition today as the day that you collected it?
Yes, sir.
And what is it appear to be?
The projectile.
Same one that's in People's Exhibit 87?
Yes, sir.
All right, this time I move for admission of People's 88.
Mr. Cook,
No objection, Judge.
Exhibit 88 will be admitted. Go ahead.
I'm going to get a picture of Eeyore and put it up every time the defense says no objection. They sound so defeated.
And then I've got People's Exhibit 89 here in front of you. Do you recognize this item?
Yes.
Does it appear to be in the same or substantially same condition today as the day that you recovered it?
Yes, sir.
What does it appear to be?
The red plastic pieces.
Same red plastic pieces that are in People's Exhibit 87?
Yes, sir.
At this time, I'd move for admission of People's Exhibit 89.
Mr. Cook,
No objection.
Exhibit 89 will be admitted.
If we can just have the witness display these to the jury by walking in front of the witness stand.
Well, that's fine.
Box. Starting with of the 88, if you could just hold this up like this and then just walk slowly in front of the jury box.
Okay, so we can't see anything nor hear anything.
And you'll see if you can now do the same thing with People's Exhibit.
I thought they were going to have a third camera maybe by today. Every day they've been doing a little bit better with the camera in the courtroom, but obviously we can't see the jury, so we can't see what she's showing them right now.
Just set it on the table.
But I would like to see it.
Now, Ms. Smith, we're going to go back up to the photos to People's Exhibit 90. Tell the jury what we're looking at there, please.
That is the pillow that was located inside the suitcase.
Were there any defects apparent in that pillow?
Yes, there's a defect right here.
When we use the word defect, what do we mean?
Not if you wouldn't buy it with that in it. It's something that's occurred after the fact.
And can you tell by just looking at the defect in the pillow what might have caused the defect? Or does more investigation needed?
More investigation.
Objection, lack of foundation.
In People's Exhibit 91,
This is the other side of the pillow. It was one of those that had reversible on each side. This one's wet with a discoloration. And I had some remnants on there for the decomp.
People's 92. What are we looking at here?
That's the projectile. It was done on the x-ray machine
So is this actually an x-ray of that pillow itself?
of the pillow itself.
Are there actually two projectiles visible in that x-ray?
Over here in the white.
When we, again, just so that we're being technical and not leaving anything unsaid, when we say projectiles, are we again talking about bullets
Yes,
that were inside of this pillow?
correct.
They need to give a little bit of a better explanation about the
People's 93.
possibility
That
for
would be a
cross
close-up
there.
of the damaged part of the pillowcase.
Would that coincide potentially with a bullet being fired into that pillow?
Yes,
People's 94. What,
the same thing here with the defect right here on the pillow once we've taken the pillowcase off.
again, does that coincide with a bullet being fired into the pillow?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, we've seen the x-ray and the bullets were inside the pillow. Does that mean that there would not be any exit defects from the bullets?
Correct.
People's 95.
Up close of, not the material, but the filling of the pillow, the damage that was done to it from the projectile.
Does that actually, can you see the projectile there as well?
Maybe a little bit right here.
Okay. People's 96.
Closer image of the damage done from the projectile.
And can you also see the projectile? People's 97.
That would be one of the projectiles that was in the pillow that we got out.
People's 98.
Defect in the pillow from the projectile.
Is this a separate defect?
Yes, this is on the other side of the pillow.
People's Exhibit 99.
See, there's a defect.
So this defect that we're looking at here now is the pillow with the pillowcase removed. Is that right?
It was the first one.
And then the this defect coincides with that last defect in the pillowcase that we just looked at.
Yes,
People's 100.
closer shot. Pillowcase for the pillow.
People's 101.
Another shot with us cutting the material and getting to the filling of the pillow.
And People's 102.
That would be the projectile that we pulled out.
So correct to understand that you were able to pull out two projectiles from the pillow itself?
Yes, sir.
At this time, I'd like to approach the witness with People's Exhibit 103.
You may, go ahead.
Is this the suitcase? Maybe another blanket.
Same thing as before, Ms. Smith. Can you take a look at People's Exhibit 103? You recognize People's Exhibit 103.
Yes, sir.
What does it appear to be?
The two projectiles we pulled from the pillow.
Are they in the same condition today or roughly the same condition today as when you recovered them?
Yes, sir.
I move for admission of People's Exhibit 103.
Mr. Cook,
Objection.
Exhibit 103 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Permission to have the witness this witness for the judge.
That's fine.
I find the whole thing with the projectiles, like, just identify it for the jury so we all know what we're talking about. These are spent projectiles. They have been fired. That wasn't really testified to. Are they still
Step
in the
there.
casings? It's not really. I mean, I guess they can see it, so it's a little different for us, but you would still expect some questioning about that. A lot of presenting to the jury this morning, which again is appropriate. So you lay the foundation for the exhibit, testify as to what it is, the credibility of, the reliability of it. Then you get it admitted. Then you can publish it to the jury. Essentially,
Judge, at this
show it
point,
to
I
the
would
jury.
ask for permission to approach the witness with People's Exhibits 104 through 120.
You may go ahead.
Interesting that they keep asking the judge for permission to approach. I would ask for a standing order permitting them to approach, so you don't have to interrupt every time. Just do it. But every court is different, so maybe this judge wants you to ask every time. It's really annoying. I've been in front of judges like that.
Ms. Smith, same as before, if you could flip through those exhibits 104 through 120 and then give me a heads up when you're done looking at them.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize the photos 104 through 120?
Yes, sir.
Are those photographs that you took during the autopsy of Gannon Stauch on March 18th, 2020?
Yes.
Are they fair and accurate representations as to what you saw that day?
Yes.
I move for admission and permission to publish 104 through 120.
Mr. Cook? Sure.
No objections. Oh, are they actually approaching? All right. It's interesting that this witness is taking autopsy photos. Normally that would be a medical examiner doing it. Maybe that's reason for the objection. Okay, so we should put the hold music on. Little sidebar with the judge. Why don't you just state your objection out in front of the jury? So most courts don't allow, this is a sidebar to talk about objections that the defense has to admitting these photographs, and that's most appropriate and most commonly done. One of the issues with presenting it to in front of the jury, speaking objections, which we've seen a lot in some of these stream trials, is that it's inappropriate for the jury to consider those, but when they hear it, it's hard for them not to consider it going forward, such as Judge Schroeder likes, for some reason, to have open arguments regarding evidence in front of the jury, and then he pontificates and all this stuff, and I think it really influences the jury. I wasn't terribly concerned about it in some of his cases, like Rittenhouse, because it apparently didn't influence the jury that way. But Zechariah Anderson, it did. The same issue happened in the Alexander Murdahl trial, where the parties were able to argue objections more or less openly in front of the jury, and that caused a problem. Yeah, okay, so I gotta upload my. Let's see if I can get this going. Oh, he's too little. There's Eeyore in the corner. Yeah, the defense is definitely Eeyore. They just sound so defeated, even with the opening statement. It was amazing. Don't tell the jury, even if you're being facetious or trying to prove a point by saying, oh yeah, my client's guilty. She did it. We have nothing to do here. And then start walking out of the courtroom. Don't do that. It's a bad look. It's going to be really bad looking at it in the transcripts because you're not going to get the tone of it either. It's just a really bad look. These defense attorneys are so defeated. They come off as so defeated. Yeah, my dog. I'm trying to get him under control. His bark collar's not turned on right now. And since it's happy Good Friday, everybody. And since it's Good Friday, though, my kids are not here. Or my kids are here, rather, and they're not at school, so it's driving the dogs nuts. All right, back to the show. We ready? Yeah, that's what he said. We lost this trial already.
All right. Court will
Such a bad way.
exclude Exhibit 104 as cumulative. Court will admit Exhibits 105 through 120.
And permission to publish starting with 105 and then through 120. Well, if you just.
You may go ahead.
I wonder what 104 was and why. Which one was already admitted? Cumulative, by the way, is if the evidence essentially says the same thing over and over and over, or asks the various witnesses or the same witness the same question over and over. It's essentially wasting
Okay,
the court's
same as
time.
process as before, Ms. Smith. If you could just stand up and tell us what we're looking at here. First, in a general sense, what are we looking at?
This is the t-shirt that the victim was wearing when we located him.
Did this T-shirt have a number of defects in it that coincided with injuries that the victim had on his body?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when we're looking at People's Exhibit 105, there's obviously some graphics on the T-shirt, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then there's that angular measuring device there. Is that signifying, as we look through these photos, where specific defects were in the shirt?
Yes.
So can you point out the defect that we're looking at first in 105?
The defect here is going to be right here. There's cotton, white cotton behind it to help him stand out.
And then if we go to 106, is that a close-up of that same defect?
That is a close-up of the same defect.
107,
Here, now we're here.
sort of where it says Minecraft over the R, it looks like.
Yes.
And then 108,
Yep, close view. That defect.
109. Those first two, would that coincide roughly with the left chest area, lower left chest area?
Yes.
And now would that coincide with, I guess, left shoulder area,
Yes.
collarbone maybe? And then 110,
Close-up of that same image
111,
to the arm.
the sleeve of the arm,
Yes, left arm.
okay? And then 112,
Close-up of that same defect.
113,
Up to here.
so are we still looking at the left sleeve, just upper portion of that sleeve?
Yes.
114, I think,
Up close of that one.
115,
Turn the shirt over. And this would be the defect.
that appears to be a larger defect than the others, is that correct?
Yes.
And then 116,
Close version of it.
117,
Left arm again, back side.
118,
Up close.
119.
And that one just moved up to here.
And then are we looking at the backside for both of those last couple of photos, the backside of the left sleeve?
Yes.
120,
Up close to that one.
left sleeve again?
Yes, sir.
All right, if you could go ahead and sit down.
The opening statements were
I
horrible.
may approach
I
with
recommend-
People's Exhibit 121 through 141.
You
I
may go
recommend
ahead.
people go back and watch that. I might even revisit it again. It was really bad. I don't like speaking objections. Federal courts, it seems very monotonous, but federal courts are objection, and then usually everybody knows what the objection is, and if for some reason they don't, then they will approach and discuss it at a sidebar. And the jury hears absolutely nothing about what the objection was, what the issues are. There's no
Go ahead and
defendant
flip through those
testimony.
and then let me know when you're done.
The thing like with DA DA Gonzo keeps popping in my head. I forget what his actual name is. When he would say, "Objection, judge," that what she meant to testify to was this or that or this or that. That's horrible, horrible, horrible objection practice. The judge should not have allowed that. Although he gave some limiting instructions to the jury, you can't you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. So you don't want to allow that. So this is the right approach. Objection. Let's approach and discuss it.
Okay.
And
Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, sir.
What are those photographs of?
The jacket the victim was wearing when we located him.
To sort of contrast what we just looked at, the t-shirt, was that a basic cotton t-shirt with the graphic writing on it?
Yes.
This jacket that we're going to look at next, is it more of a nylon type jacket?
Yes.
Is it the jacket that the victim was wearing that you recovered at autopsy?
Yes.
Are these fair and accurate
Little leading.
representations as to what you saw of that jacket at the autopsy on March 18th, 2020?
Yes.
And at this time, I move for admission of 121 through 142 and permission to publish.
Mr. Cook?
It's done. He's at the bench.
Okay.
About his,
Council approach, please.
all right, let me see if I can go back to this. Yeah, I wish I could see the pictures too. Not necessarily because I want to see all this stuff, but they talk about a defect, and we don't really have an idea yet because they haven't asked this witness, and they might not ask this witness what the actual defect is. That might be just setting foundation for another witness. The questions that he was just asking were a little leading. I feel like they were probably foundational, so no reason to object. I love my elevator music. I feel like it's appropriate here.
All right. Exhibits 121 through 142 are admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
You may go ahead.
So Ms. Smith, same as before, 121 should be up on the screen here in just a moment. So tell the jury what we're looking at in 121.
This is the jacket the victim was wearing when we located him.
Is this the inside of the jacket, so the lining of the jacket?
Yes, sir.
So point out where you can see any defects in this jacket.
One here, here, here. This appears to be one here.
Okay. And then moving on to 122.
Up close to that first one that I pointed.
And would this generally be, since we're looking at the lining of the jacket, would this essentially mean that this would coincide with the victim's back area?
Yes.
Okay. 123,
Close to that one.
Again, is this still looking at the lining of the jacket, which would generally coincide with the back of the victim?
Yes, sir.
125,
Close of that one.
126,
Over here, same back side of the victim.
127,
Up close.
128.
We're here, now we're over here. It's still the same on the back side, and this is the lining.
Sort of would this coincide roughly with the back shoulder? It looks like it's closer to the sleeve here.
Yes.
129,
Up close of that one.
130,
Right.
so is this getting closer to the top of the shoulder area of the
Bad angle for
jacket?
the witness.
Yes,
I
sir.
feel bad.
Still, are we looking at the lining of the jacket?
It's like when the judge stands up.
131,
Close of that one.
132,
Gonna be the hood with some defects here.
are we looking at the lining of the hood?
Yes.
Okay, 133,
Back that pointed to.
134,
Close of that one.
135.
Second one. That I-
136.
Tilt the camera a little more. It'd be better.
And those last couple, also the inside lining of the hood.
Correct.
Okay. 137.
This will be the back of the jacket.
Is this just an, oh, I'm sorry.
Here, one here.
Essentially an overview of the back of the jacket.
Yes.
138,
First one that I,
139,
second one that I pointed to. Still on the back of the jacket.
140,
Here, now we're over here.
141,
Still here.
and then 142.
Sounds tedious, but
Here's
it's
the
all
defect.
important to
Trying
get out.
See where we're at on the jacket.
Does it appear that this is closer to the zipper?
Yes.
Can you see the zipper there at the top?
Here's the zipper.
Okay. Thank you. And Your Honor, now I would like to approach the witness with People's Exhibit 143.
All right, you may go ahead.
Remember, the jury gets to ask questions in this trial too, which is very interesting and quite enjoyable, especially when they have better questions than the defense.
You had a chance to look at People's 143.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize it?
Yes, sir.
What does it appear to be?
Pair of pants.
Photo of the pair of pants?
Correct.
Are these the pants that the victim was wearing when you went to the scene on March 17th and then the autopsy on March 18th?
Yes, sir.
Did you also collect those items?
I did.
Is it a fair and accurate representation of the pants as you saw them on March 18th?
Yes.
And at this time, I would move for admission and permission to publish 143.
Exhibit 143 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Permission to publish, there we go. Just generally give us are these nylon sort of athletic pants?
Yes.
Does it appear that there's, it's hard to tell, right? There's a lot of staining on this from decomp, I would assume.
Yes, sir.
But does it also appear that there's white stripes running down the legs of these pants?
Yes, 2 on each side.
Can you point those out for the jury, please?
Here's one right here, and then the other one's right here.
Okay. All of these items that we just looked at, so the pillow, the blankets, the t-shirt, the hoodie, and these pants, I think it may be obvious, but were these heavily soiled with decomposition from Gannon's remains?
Yes.
Associated with that heavy decomposition, was there quite a smell associated with them?
Yes.
Is that why we're not bringing those items into the jury to let them have to deal with that as well?
Yes.
Finally, would like to have my investigator approach the witness with People's Exhibit number 86.
All right, may go ahead.
And just so that we're all clear, this is the item that we talked about prior to.
Okay. Is there Any objection as to the foundational issue of this defense? Okay. Mr. Allen?
Sorry,
So, Ms. Smith, our investigator Cecil Weir is going to help with this item because of the size of it. But if you could just take a look at it and let me know if you recognize People's Exhibit 86.
she's looking hard. I'm still working, so I drifted off for a minute. Is this the suitcase?
And I didn't hear your question over the paper.
Yeah, that paper was a little loud. Do you recognize People's Exhibit 86?
I do.
What does it appear to be?
Olive green suitcase that was at the scene
Okay, this is
Did you collect this scene at the River Bridge or was it at autopsy?
at the River Bridge.
Okay. Does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition today as the day that you recovered it?
Yes.
At this time, I'd move for admission of People's Exhibit 86.
Mr. Cook?
Objection.
With
Exhibit
it
86 will be
smelling.
admitted. Go ahead.
Your Honor, because of the decomposition material on this item, we are asking for permission to not leave this here in the courtroom, but I would like to have permission for our investigator, Mr. Weir, to show this item to the jury by holding it up. It is a larger item.
You may.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
I'll hold the black.
with the smell of this suitcase as they're talking about it. I think. Well, first, let me finish my thought. It's hard for me to imagine that Harley didn't notice something if they're traveling with it. I mean, I know it's not as old as it is now at that time, but still. Does she have gloves on? She should have gloves on if she's handling stuff, but it looks like it's in a bag. So no gloves, looks like. But if it's in a bag, they don't really need gloves to handle it. They only need gloves when they take it out. Good morning, Wendy. Although, if it smells even when it's in the bag, I feel like I'd want to wear gloves. I would ask for gloves. And it doesn't look like a terribly large bag. I mean, I know they described it as a large suitcase.
Thank you, ma'am. Does that suitcase have a broken handle on it as well?
Yes, sir.
If Mr. Weir holds that up, can you point that out to the jury?
This handle right here. Not attached.
And then just so that we're all clear, although I think it's probably fairly obvious, but we need to build a record as well. All of the items that you saw out at the Escambia River Bridge, so the 2 blankets, the pillow, and Gannon's remain inside of this suitcase.
Correct.
And if I wasn't clear before, the clothing that I mentioned and that had heavy decomposition material on them, was that true also for the blankets and the pillow?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And so at this point, Judge, I would ask if we can just have our investigator take that item back out before it starts to.
Is there an objection?
They're emphasizing
All
this.
right, you may
smell.
go ahead.
It's actually kind of a good thing. They're emphasizing how bad it smells, and even if
Just
you
take
can't
that.
smell it right now,
He's trying to collect the baggage.
if we leave it in here,
Stephanie?
you're going to smell it, and it's going to be horrible. So let's take it out. So that's a good tactic by them. If it truly didn't smell, I would have an objection maybe from the defense. But
All right, Ms. Smith, just a couple more questions for you. How long have you lived in that, I guess, greater Pensacola area?
they would not have
45
cleaned it.
years.
Are you familiar with several bridges in that area?
Yes.
The Escambia River Bridge obviously is the one that we've been talking about today, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there also an I-10 bridge
Yes.
and then a 98 Pensacola Bay Bridge, essentially? Of those bridges in the area, is the Escambia River Bridge less traveled or more traveled than the other bridges?
Less.
Less traveled. And then are you also familiar with I-95?
Yes.
Where's I-95?
It goes along the east coast of Florida.
Okay. All right, that would be my questions for this witness.
Cross-examination, Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, I don't have any questions for this witness. Thank you.
All right.
Any
Do any of the
questions from
jurors have
jury?
any questions for Ms. Smith? Just write it down, pass it forward. Looks like we might have a couple, so just write them down, pass them forward, and I'll have somebody collect them.
You want me to retrieve them, Your Honor, or?
Yes, yeah, just put them on the bar in front of you there, pass them forward, put them on the bar in front of you, and then Mr. Allen, if you would retrieve those, please, and counsel approach.
All right, so jury questions. This is it's becoming more and more normal. It's been normalized in Michigan for a few years, but the jury is allowed to ask questions here. They have to write it down, pass it to the judge, and then the judge and both prosecution and defense counsel will review the question to determine if it's appropriate. You know, they can't ask things that are hearsay or whatever. There might be reasons why it's inappropriate. But assuming it's an appropriate question, then the judge will read it aloud to the witness and have the witness answer. Yesterday, we had this for the first time in this trial, and the questions were very good from the jury, well pointed. And this was after the defense already passed on questioning the witness and said they didn't have any questions. And then all of a sudden, the jury or the defense was like, "Oh, you know what? That was a good question. Let me ask a follow-up." So the parties do have an opportunity to ask follow-ups after the jury questions as well. I really like this interaction. They get to get some interaction, and you know, normally without that, you have no idea what the jury's thinking. So this is good. They also get to take notes too.
Ms. Smith, was the suitcase cleaned? It appears cleaner.
No, it was not cleaned. It was kind of hard to see through the plastic.
All right. And this is a timeline question. You visited the discovery site on March 17 of 2020, and the autopsy was on March 18 of 2020. Let's start there. Are those two dates accurate?
Yes.
And so you already knew on March 18 of 2020 that it was Gannon?
They didn't know for sure. They went by some pictures, and then I'm not sure what their procedures are for identification.
All right. I will allow reasonable follow-up as to those questions only. Mr. Allen?
Just on that last question, when we were talking about identification of the remains, was that just a tentative identification,
Yes.
not a finalized identification? You know that a finalized identification came sometime later?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cook? All right. Thank you, Ms. Smith. You may step down. Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Who is it?
Morning, Your Honor. People call Trevor Seifert to the stand.
Seifert? Is that what I heard? Seifert? Someone will correct me in the chat.
Mr. Seifert, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Oh, your last name, please, sir.
Morning.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your first and last name?
My name is Trevor Seifert, spelled Trevorseifert.
I just mispronounced your name, so I apologize.
It's okay.
What is your occupation?
I am a senior crime laboratory analyst with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
And how long have you been with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Just over 17 years.
And what are your specific roles within that title?
Up until September of last year, I was in the biology section of the Pensacola Regional Operations Center. And in the biology section, we do DNA analysis.
And what kind of experience and training do you have in the field of DNA analysis?
Education-wise, I have a Bachelor's of Science in Biology from Southern Oregon University and a PhD in Microbiology and Immunology from the University of Florida. At the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, I also went through a one-year training program in forensic biology.
Wonder if they found any of the
And
finished
does the
DNA.
field of DNA analysis include the field of forensic DNA analysis?
Yes.
And have you been practicing in that field within the role that you just described? And approximately how many investigations have you been involved in where you've done some DNA testing in the field of forensic DNA analysis?
Hundreds of cases, and we actually count the number of samples that we analyze, and it's well over 8,000.
And do you have some continuing education that you participate in to stay up to date in that field?
Yes, we have required annual continuing education, and we keep up to date with current literature.
And have you been qualified as an expert in a court of law to testify in the field of forensic DNA analysis?
Yes, in the Florida 1st and 14th Circuit,
Approximately how many times?
approximately 55.
First time in Colorado, I take it?
Testifying, yes.
Okay. At this time, we'd ask the court to allow Mr. Seifert to testify in the field of forensic DNA analysis as an expert.
No objection. All right, just a minute.
Okay. Qualified as an expert, he's going to be introducing, I'm assuming, a ton of DNA evidence. We might get into the weeds.
Ladies and gentlemen, a person may be qualified as an expert by education, experience, skill, or training. You are not bound by the testimony of a witness who has testified as an expert. The credibility of an expert's testimony is to be considered as that of any other witness. You may believe all of an expert witness's testimony, part of it, or none of it. The way you give the testimony is entirely your decision. Mr. Young?
Thank you, Anna. Could you please educate us in the field of DNA? What is DNA? Where does it come from? That kind of thing.
Sure. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. It is a molecule that is found in every cell of your body except for mature red blood cells. It carries the instructions for the development and structure of all living organisms. At FDLE, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, we do what is called STR DNA analysis, and STR stands for short tandem repeats. Short tandem repeats vary between individuals, and the number of repeats at markers that we look at are what differ between individuals and create their unique profile. We look at 21 different areas in the DNA, which I'll call markers, and 3 gender markers that can tell us whether the DNA is consistent with a male or a female.
Already,
In order
so much
to
better
develop a
than
DNA
Zachariah
profile,
Anderson trial.
I will take a sample from biological material and do chemical processes which will break open the cells, releasing the DNA into a solution. Then place this solution onto an instrument that quantifies the amount of DNA that I was able to obtain from the sample. And if I reach a high enough threshold, I can then use a process called polymerase chain reaction, which amplifies each of the 21 markers that I'm looking at millions of times with a fluorescent tag that enables another instrument, a genetic analyzer, to measure the length of each of these fragments, which determines the number of markers, the number of short tandem repeats, and gives us a profile for the individual or the sample.
Can you talk to the jury about the uniqueness of these profiles that you've been talking about?
Yes, depending on the number of markers that I'm able to generate a profile from, statistics differ with how unique it will be.
Oh, wow.
But
Now they got
overall, a DNA profile of an individual is unique to that individual, and only a identical sibling will have the same DNA profile.
And where do we get this uniqueness from? Where does our DNA come from?
Half of your DNA comes from your mother, half of your DNA comes from your father. And so the combination of the DNA from both, so you have 2 copies of DNA, 2 copies of these markers. And so at each of these markers, I will get a number of repeats. So one marker may have 5, let's say 5 of these short tandem repeats from your mother and 10 from your father. So at that marker, you would be considered a 510. And what we're looking at when we're comparing profiles from a questioned sample to a known individual, we're looking at those numbers and matching those numbers.
So if we have, for instance, a body found where we don't know who that person is, would we be able to create a profile if the DNA was in good shape and then determine who the parents of that individual were or vice versa?
Yes, we can.
She's actually looking at the witness.
When we talk about the field
And the
of
jury.
forensic DNA analysis, I think you just alluded to it a little bit in your previous answer. Are we talking about having a known DNA profile and then unknown DNA profiles to figure out if there's a match or if there's some consistency between the two?
Yes, so in most cases, we're dealing with evidence from a crime scene, looking for a suspect. So we're looking for the DNA profile from the evidence and then comparing it with DNA profile from an individual said to be involved in the case. In other cases, we're looking at unidentified human remains and comparing that to DNA profiles from individuals that are in a missing persons database.
And so is there databases in the United States, for instance, where there's DNA profiles for unsolved crimes, things like that, where if you develop a profile, you can compare that to a database to see if there's a match?
Yes, there are.
And do agencies across the country
I'll take the
submit DNA profiles
I
to
don't
those
have my stream
databases?
going.
Yes.
So this is
Now,
unmentionable stream, but it's good that they did this.
where does this DNA come from? What do people leave behind where you might be able to obtain DNA profiles from?
Well, the majority of it is bodily fluids, blood, semen, saliva, tissue, and we can also obtain DNA from items that people have worn or handled. So epithelial cells or skin cells that are left behind or hairs.
You alluded to earlier about crime scenes. Are there particular crime scenes that might deteriorate DNA?
Yes, DNA is stable in dry and cold environments. When it's out in the natural environment, DNA is degraded by the human body. Once a cell dies, it releases enzymes that breaks up the DNA. Microorganisms also break up DNA. So in hot, humid, wet, or damp environments, the DNA is degrading rapidly.
I'm going to take you back to 2020, and particularly March 17th of 2020. Were you familiar with a body that was discovered underneath the Escambia Bridge there by Pensacola, Florida, around that time frame?
Yes, I was.
And after autopsy and in the investigation, were you asked to conduct some DNA analysis to confirm the identity of this individual who was found deceased under the bridge?
Yes.
Tell the jury about that. What did you do? And we'll get into your results in a second.
In the first submission of evidence that I received from our medical examiner, I received buccal swabs, which are swabbings from the inside of the cheek of an individual, and a card with a couple drops of blood. I then performed the analysis that I already explained, where I took samples from each, broke up in the cells in solution, and attempted to obtain DNA profiles. The blood sample did not give me enough DNA to amplify and get a profile. And the buccal swab gave me
Kinda hard to tell.
enough DNA to attempt to develop a profile. However, the results were so low that I could not interpret the results.
And what was your understanding
Trying to
of
interpret the
the
results from
condition?
the buccal swab.
Did you later determine that this was Gannon Stauch?
Yes.
I'm just going to use Gannon Stauch as who we're talking about here. Did you learn about the condition of Gannon Stauch's body as it laid underneath that bridge, February to March of 2020?
Yes, I heard that it was a
Yes, it
body
does.
in a suitcase, and based upon the
For sure.
condition of the initial evidence that I received, the bulk swab and blood stain, I could tell that it was a decomposing body.
And was it surprising to you that you were not able to get enough DNA from the buccal swabs and the blood card from autopsy to develop a profile?
No, not at all.
Why is that?
During decomposition, the DNA breaks down, and usually we have to go to a harder tissue such as a bone or teeth.
And is it because of the deterioration that you alluded to earlier, Gannon's body being under the bridge by water in the humidity and heat of Florida?
Yes, and the amount of time.
And I think you just said you had to go to some bone. Tell us about what you did with the bone and why did you go to the bone?
Yes, next I received a rib bone, and I took numerous samples from the rib bone at separate times. So initially I swabbed some of the tissue on the rib bone, took a cutting of the rib bone, and went through the process of trying to get DNA from those. The swabbing of the tissue resulted in not enough DNA to go any further. The cutting from the tissue, I again got a very low amount of DNA, but was not able to interpret a profile. So I went back to the bone again, broke it open and removed marrow, and went through the DNA analysis again, and again was only able to obtain information, but not enough to interpret. Went back to the bone again and actually took pieces of the bone and did a longer process. It takes several days to get a DNA profile from. And with that, I was able to get a partial profile. So a complete profile is information at all 21 of the markers we're looking at. And with this partial profile, I was able to get information at 9 markers. So the difference between the markers is the length. So the longer a marker is, the more likely it's going to be chopped up and not give us any information.
And so when you were able to get these 9 markers you alluded to, this was from a rib bone,
Good evening.
correct?
Correct.
Thank you for joining
Did
us.
you also have at least information that there was a tentative identification that this was Gannon Stauch?
Yes, I did.
And did you also have indication that there was a DNA profile developed for Gannon Stauch here in Colorado Springs at the Metro Crime Lab?
Yes.
Did you contact the Metro Crime Lab with the 9 markers or the profile that you developed from the rib bone to see whether or not there was a match with the known profile from Gannon Stauch that we had here in Colorado Springs?
Yes, I did.
And what was the results of that?
I received confirmation back from them that they had a match with the profile that I generated from the rib bone and a case here.
And what does that mean?
That means that the markers that I obtained a profile from matched a standard or a DNA profile that they had developed here in this case.
Was that confirmation, at least for you, that that was the body of Gannon Stauch?
Yes, if it were a case that I was working through to the end, I would have continued working to obtain a complete profile from the remains. And then I would also need to obtain whatever piece of evidence they used to get the complete profile from here in Colorado and compare those myself and then perform statistics, which would give you a likelihood ratio on how good of a match it was.
And do you know whether or not anyone from Colorado Springs did exactly what you just described?
I assume that they did, but I do not know.
Essentially, when you made this determination that the 9 profiles from the rib bone matched the known profile for Gannon Stauch, did the El Paso County Sheriff's Office and the Metro Crime Lab here in Colorado Springs kind of take it from there and take over the investigation?
Yes.
So we have a partial.
Those are my
DNA.
questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross-examination, Mr. Tellini?
No question.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Mr. Seifert, sorry. No? All right. Thank you. You may step down.
On to the next one.
Council approach, please.
So that was very good DNA testimony. The way better than what we've heard in the past. Talks about the profiles. Did you know that you needed 21 or that you had 21 profiles and that's the ideal match? Because I
All
didn't
right,
get
prosecution, call your next witness, please.
case.
Oh, Alexis Peck, stand here.
Last name again?
Heck.
Heck. Thank you.
Texas Hack.
Hack, I'm sorry, P-A-C-K.
Pack.
Ms. Pack, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, ma'am. Up here. You swear affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Morning,
Good morning.
how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Could you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for the record?
Alexis Pack, P-A-C-K.
And where do you live, Miss Pack?
Pensacola, Florida.
First time in a courtroom?
Yes.
Everyone's really nice in here, I promise, okay?
Okay.
Miss Pack, what do you do for a living?
I just stay at home now. I did work at the hotel as a front desk agent.
Okay. And when you say the hotel, are you talking about the Candlewood Suites?
Yes, sir.
And which Candlewood Suites did you work at?
The one in Pensacola on Davis Highway.
And how long were you working there?
I worked there for 3 years.
Were you working there back on February 4th of 2020?
Yes, sir.
And as part of that job at the front desk, would you routinely check people in, check people out, that kind of thing?
Yes, sir.
And would you fill out paperwork as you did that?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Me?
It's clear that this judge wants them to ask every time because they keep doing it.
Handy what's been marked as People's Exhibit 181. And it's in a plastic folder. You can pull out that document if you like. I believe it's a 3-page document.
So it's alleged that the defendant stayed.
Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Which
And what is
3
that?
miles away from
It's the form that they fill out whenever they check in.
where the suitcase was located. 3 miles.
And did you fill that form out?
I did not.
Okay, who filled that form out? Do you know?
It's the person who checks in. They fill it out.
Let me have you turn to page 3 of that document. You see that computer printout?
Yes.
Do you see your name on that computer printout?
Yes.
Do you see the name of the person who checked someone in on that computer printout?
I do.
Okay. So tell us about that. Who checked this person in that's related to this document, and then who checked them out?
So there was a lady named Sharon who worked there who checked her in, and I checked her out.
And are these documents that you use with anytime someone checks in or checks out of the hotel?
Yes.
And are these routinely used in the course of business at the Candlewood Suites?
Yes.
And does this accurately depict the check-in and check-out or the person named in this document back on February 4th, 2020?
Yes.
We would move to admit People's Exhibit 181.
Defense?
Objection.
Exhibit 181 will be admitted. Go ahead.
And before we publish that, I'd like to show you another exhibit if I may approach, Your Honor.
You may.
You recognize the woman?
Show you People's Exhibit 221. It's already been admitted into evidence. You recognize this overhead photo here?
Yes.
And I don't want to be Captain Obvious here, but there's a label that says Candlewood Suites there.
Mhm.
Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Is that where the hotel is located at?
Yes.
And is that where you were working on February 4th, 2020 when this person checked in?
So I don't think I was working when she checked in, but when she checked out.
Did she check out on February 4th, 2020?
So I'm not sure if she checked out with me or if the housekeeping staff told me she was gone, and that's why I checked her out.
We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Just for the record, I'll publish to the jury again.
Did he just say 2021? I think he got that date wrong.
Okay,
Yeah,
we
she's
can
been
publish
alert today.
Exhibit 181 now?
But she was hiding from her ex-husband and from all the testimony regarding Gannon under the bridge.
It's kind of tough to see on the TV screens. Can we zoom in on that a little bit, please? So let's start with the top part of that exhibit, and you can look at the one, the actual exhibit in front of you if you like.
Okay.
What is the name of the person who checked in back on February 4th, 2020?
I don't know how to say the last name,
Okay.
but it's Letecia Stauch.
Okay, you did a pretty good job with the last name. And again, I know it says there, but where is this person from, at least what they're saying when they check in?
South Carolina.
And does this information also show the method of how they paid for the room and things like that?
Yes.
Down below it says, where it says reservation information,
Mhm.
it says company and it says Ford Motor Company. Where did that come from? Do you know?
So that's a fixed rate we would have had in the system for that company.
And so whoever is getting the reservation, would they have to tell whoever's working the front desk that I'm with the Ford Motor Company to check in?
So yes, or if they make it online, they can put that in themselves if they have the rate code.
She
But
was
you
told-
get that from the person, whoever's making the reservation. That's not something you just put in there.
No.
She was told by the jury directly, I believe, on day.
If we go
Three.
down a little bit, can we just scan down that first page? Right there's good, thanks. Is there information when they check in to describe what vehicle they're driving?
Yes.
And what kind of vehicle did the person say they were driving, or this Letecia Stauch say they were driving?
A Nissan Altima.
And does anybody check to see if that's accurate?
No, sir.
If we can now go to page 2 of that document. Again, we have page 2 of this exhibit. Again, Ford Motor Company, is that again the same information
Yes.
that you get from the person who's checking in?
Yes.
I'll go back to it if I can. The judge had a question from the jury on the morning of day 3.
Can we go back to the first page? I forgot to mention something on
That
that.
said,
Thanks.
the defendant is acting really
Or
weird.
just the top part.
Should we take that into consideration?
Appreciate it.
And the judge really didn't know how to respond.
You familiar with the rooms there at the hotel?
Yes.
What is a standard suite 1 queen non-smoking mean?
It's just one queen bed.
Standard room, I take it? Okay. I went to law school, so that's how I come up with these great questions. Can we go to page 3 of that document now? We rotate that so we can, I'm asking you to do a lot. I appreciate that, Ms. Grantiano. It won't rotate, huh? All right. Well, let's look at this page here. Does it have the times that the person actually checked in and the times they checked out?
Yes, sir.
Could you please tell the jury the time that Ms. Stauch checked in to the hotel?
It looks like it was 12:23, I think.
Okay. And you base that on the 0023 that we see on the document?
Yes, sir.
And that would have been on what date?
February 4th, 2020.
She's reading
And
from
then
the exhibit, which shouldn't be.
Your
allowed.
name is
be
associated with the
objections.
checkout. What time did this individual check out?
11:11.
And that top line, I know we can't see it because it's documented. Could you read what the description says?
Or at least it should be identified if she's reading or testifying from memory.
Where it says checkout.
It says Stauch, Letecia.
Okay, it says Stout Letecia checking out on 2/4/20, having arrived 2/3/20.
Now, does that indicate when the reservation was actually made?
Yes,
Interesting.
So the actual checkout time would have been what is documented on this page.
correct.
Does anyone know why she went to Pensacola? Did she have any connections there?
Can you tell by looking at this page what time the reservation was actually made?
11:43.
So roughly a half an hour before she actually physically checked in?
Yes.
Does this document indicate to you how many guests would have been checked in on that date?
No.
If you go down to that back to the first page, kind of the second area on that first page, we can zoom in on that, please. Thanks.
Perhaps.
Scroll up a little, please. And keep going. Yep, there we go, right there. Do you see where it says number of guests?
Yes.
What does it say there?
1.
And do you know when this document was signed? Was it when they check in or when they check out?
When they check in.
Those are my questions, John. Thanks.
Vince, cross-examination.
Thank you.
Do we actually have cross?
Good morning, ma'am.
Wow.
Good morning.
My name is Will Cook. I'm an attorney for the defense. I'm going to ask you a few questions, okay?
Okay.
Position.
So you had nothing to do with the check-in in this case,
No, sir.
okay? And you can't remember if you actually checked out on February 4th
No,
or the 5th, this Letecia Stauch?
no, sir.
Would you be able to recognize the person that checked out or you checked out on that date?
No, sir.
Okay.
That was a good question. That was very
In
good.
fact, you may not have ever even seen this person.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh,
Redirect.
that was good.
No, thanks, John.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Ms. Pack? No? Great. Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. Watch your step as you step down.
We are rolling through the witnesses today. There's a lot of witnesses, and they say 6 to 8 weeks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our morning recess until about 10:45. If I can have all of the jurors back in the jury room at 10:45, we should be able to start on time at that point. Again, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. And with that, we'll see you back at 10:45. All rise for the jury, please.
Okay. We're going to go on a break. I am going to pull up, let me see if I could find it here. I had a video that was a good sort of summary of her. Yeah, here it is. Okay, let me pull this up. It was her recordings. Her recordings are insane, but I don't think they rise to the level of insanity. But we can never get enough of her insanity. Oh, wait, hang on. Oh, okay. No, never mind. I thought the court was coming back to do something, so I was getting all excited. All right. So these are part of her recordings that were played in court. I want to say on day 2.
We found someone in the neighborhood who was working for the Lorson Ranch people. So this is why I came back to you and said I didn't think it was the
And this is where
carpet
she's
guy.
cowering
I
in the
say working
corner.
for the Lorson Ranch people. I don't know who he worked for.
Like whatever that Emery Homes or whatever it's called.
He was working for the home company. I approached the guy, asked him, could he go fix the carpet? You know, that
Oh,
was
this is,
before
yeah, the
he
carpet
hit the
guy
road.
after she
So that
tore it
was
up.
before Dunkin' Donuts and all that?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I meant to tell you this. So it's before Dunkin' Donuts and all that. So I gave him the garage code because he apparently worked for the company or whatever.
This is where we have to drink every time she says yada yada or
I had money sitting on the counter because Harley
whatever.
was gonna.
Is that what she's
I
also
remember
saying?
I've been playing those lottery ticket things. I was
Yeah.
tens because I was like, well, he can just have those tens and I'll get more money from. That's why I had one on the lottery. Well, that's why I thought that that the
Just
target
incoherent
person,
nonsense going
had
on and
access
on
to
and
the
on.
house, whatever. Come to find out later on, he didn't even make it there. But I'll get to that point when we get there.
But
But I
why
forgot-
would
This
you
is
give him
quiet.
access to the house?
Well, because he was
Yeah, but
contract like part of the people, and Gannon was with me.
okay, all right.
So I didn't think anything was a threat if the children were with me.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, we would definitely have a
And Gannon
hangover
come
for
in or
drinking.
whatever.
But that you know how I am about that stuff too, right? I mean, that's. Anyways, I don't want to stop you. Just that kind of worries me there. But go ahead.
Yeah, keep going with your story.
You there?
I didn't give him a code to be any kind of whatever.
No.
I mean,
I'm
I was
just.
trying to get the carpet fixed so the boy could not be so upset.
I got it. I just don't.
So
like,
the
you know
boy
how I am.
could
I
not
don't
be
like
so
people having
upset.
access to our house and stuff. But, whatever. Just go on because I don't think that's a big deal. So.
Anyway, so back to what I was saying.
Sorry.
I wanted to make sure I didn't leave out that point.
Okay.
So, fast forwarding on, we have to hurry up. We have to get back because I knew that Lena would be coming home at some point. The original plan was we were going to go pick Lena up. That was the original plan. But like, hey, we're going to go eat sushi tonight because everybody's been talking about eating sushi.
Yeah.
Lena wanted to stay at home. And I was
Okay,
like,
so the
no,
question
Gannon, you
is
probably
whether or
should've
not
stayed
this
home. You
woman
still aren't
is
feeling the best,
insane.
whatever.
Can
You
she
should not stay
determine
home.
the difference between
I
right
said,
and
so we're
wrong?
all gonna eat sushi. If you don't
And
like
this
it,
sounds
we'll
like
just
someone
get
who
fried
can
chicken,
knows she
yada,
did
yada.
wrong
So that
and
was
is
our
trying to
plan for
cover
the
it
day.
up.
We got home about, I don't know what time the alarm got set off. 2:30, 2:45, whatever the bull crap is. Okay. Well, I noticed that during the time frame, I set the alarm to alarm away. And I have it from the ADT.
Okay.
When we left. Somehow, during some point, the alarm changed from alarm away
It's
to
just
alarm stay.
nonsense.
But what point?
I had all this, and which was on my phone that they took.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, I thought this was the one where she was asking for
Mind
immunity.
about- I mean,
Hang on.
I just know his arm probably hit the wall when he was asleep.
oh, I got you. Okay. All right. So you clean that up. Okay. Cause I never saw that. That's the first I heard of it. So you cleaned up wherever his blisters or his burn mark hit the wall. Did you clean something else up?
Light switch from where he touched it.
Oh, but that was after you showed it to me.
Yes.
Yeah, you showed it to me and Lena and then told me that he was picking his fingernails so bad that he bled so bad, remember?
Yes, he did pick his fingernails.
We don't have all the
Okay,
evidence
so
in yet.
he picked his fingernails and I'm just trying to clarify, picked his fingernails and his blister or his burn mark or whatever.
What do you mean? Gannon picks everything that's open.
Yeah, I'm not.
Why are you
Okay,
acting like
so
you're on
grade
the
her
other
ability to
track with
lie.
this? He picks his fingers all the time.
Babe, because you,
It's open.
babe, you're absolutely right about that. But I don't know why you feel like you're on trial. I'm talking to my wife, trying to figure out the truth. And like I told you before, the truth hasn't always lined up. So I just want to find out all the details so we can find Gannon. That's it.
Yeah, she is the entire
I
time.
gave you every detail. But you were coming at me saying, I thought you did this afterwards. Gannon bleeds all the time.
Right.
Gannon has huge nosebleeds. Did you tell him the nosebleeds from your truck is from Gannon?
When did he have a nosebleed in my truck?
Oh my God, don't even play. It's been there since Alaska. And the top part of your truck, you have his hands had
Yeah,
blood
get mad
on
at
it
the
from
father
a
of the
year and
missing
stuff
child.
ago.
Maybe. I'm not doubting you. I don't know. I just don't remember that. But that might have happened. I know he has had a nosebleed once in a while. I don't remember that in Alaska.
Nosebleeds are like in Colorado, or at least once every week or two. Every week or two, Gannon has a nosebleed. This is where I get angry. Like, people come up here and talk all this shit, and they don't even know him.
Oh yeah, she's worried about
I don't know.
Facebook,
Like I said, I
social
don't know
media.
what the people are saying on social media. I don't even bother with that. And I haven't for a long time. But I'm just trying to.
Mind you,
Alright.
this is a few days after he's missing.
Can-
She's
You gotta
nowhere to
say
be
out
I'm
found.
just trying to retrace some.
They're trying to
steps and
locate Gannon.
Retrace some steps in my head.
And this is
Did,
Father
um,
Al on a recorded phone
so the
call with
Mexican guy,
investigators.
Did you see like
defendant.
anybody? I'm trying to think of this Craigslist. Did he have a picture, or did he like give you any information about him? Like, hey, I'm, other than where to find him at or anything like that. I mean, what was the framework of like how you set up that to meet him?
Everything is on my phone, Albert.
Dave, I don't know. I guess they got your
everything
phone.
is
You keep
so
telling me that, but I'm
inconvenient
just trying to figure
for
out
her.
how you went about doing this. So maybe we can. That freaking lady that called me, bugging the shit out of me from the FBI.
He's a better actor than she is.
Maybe that's something relevant. I don't know.
She called the police later that day.
They have
And
access
reported
to
him
my
missing.
phone.
The police
Okay.
showed up
On
and we
my
saw
phone,
body
I
cam yesterday
clicked
or
the Craigslist
Wednesday
thing, which
from
generates
that
this whole
him when the
like
police showed up.
number,
But it was a lot of the same
whatever
thing
the email they do to
as
protect
this.
the people that are selling.
She was just like recanting the entire day about nothing having to do with where he might actually be.
For that. I have limited access because a lot of my stuff didn't load. A lot of it weren't backed up. My emails weren't backed up. My notes weren't backed up. The only thing backed up when I logged in to the icon that it let me in temporarily was pictures.
Yeah, she's already got new details or a different twist on the story every time.
Clearly have everything. And since they've done all these things,
These
they
recordings
should
are what's
see
going to
this.
convict her.
They should see pictures of what I took with Gannon at home with me later.
She was
You should see all
arrested
this
March
shit, man,
2nd,
and it pisses me the fuck
2020,
off,
I believe,
and no
around
one's
there,
even caring.
in
Everybody's
South
wanting to
Carolina.
point the finger, but won't let me sit there and show you.
All right, Letecia.
And these phone calls
Okay.
are taking place around February
You told me to be
14th-ish
straight.
or so.
I got you on the phone, and I'm trying to sit here and tell my own husband every little detail, everything. You think I don't love my family?
All right, Tisha, listen. Like I said the whole time, I'm just trying to help you and trying to keep you and Harley safe from all. I mean, these people are after me now. I don't know who the hell it is, but like I said, I had to go get my clothes changed and everything just so I can blend in better. And I want you to know that no matter what,
That's exactly what
we can
happened.
work
She
through
thought
this
she was
together,
going
and I
to
can help you, okay? But you just gotta
manipulate
let me
her
help
way
you.
out of
But
this.
you told me to be straight up. I got a very straight up question, okay? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Did you kill Gannon? I need to know. I need you to answer me yes or no right now.
I killed Gannon.
Did
The
you?
answer is no. I can't believe you asked me this.
I just got to know you. I told me to be straight up. I got to know what's happening to my son.
Tell me why you would think I killed Gannon.
There's a lot of unknowns. I mean, being straight up again,
I just wanna
you
pause
changed your
this.
story
Well-
again to me for the fourth time.
I did it wrong.
No, I changed my story.
You did. This is the fourth
my
version
video.
of the same story. Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to pause this. So he accuses her, or he doesn't accuse her, he asks her. This is around February 14th. And this is why I think question E is not really a sign of her guilt, as some people are saying. Why would you put this down on a fake polygraph? By the way, this is a fake polygraph exam that the defendant was trying to obtain while she was on the run in South Carolina. And the last question there is, did you participate in any way causing the death of your stepson? And she said no. This was while she was on the run before they discovered Gannon's body. And so people are saying, well, that proves her guilt, because why else would you think about Gannon's death? But father just, or not accused her, but questioned her about it. So I think, again, that doesn't really prove her guilt by itself. The fact maybe she got a fake polygraph, kind of, sort of.
What you told me today, with the cut foot, and now he's got burned arms and picking it, and his butt's bleeding. All this stuff is new to what you told me the other day. And the other day you told me you cleaned up the area where you got raped so nobody would see it. But now you told me you just changed clothes. I just don't know what the hell's going on.
Definitely suggests something, doesn't it?
First off, you never even listened to me about anything that went on.
I did. No, you stopped, because I listened to you. I listened to you, and then I went and got the guns and put them in the truck, and then I came back and me and Landon listened to you, and then I stopped and picked your story
Narcissists
apart.
still know
So
right
get it
from
straight,
wrong.
Tisha. I listened to you, and
And they're
I
still
said,
able
if
to
I'm
control their
wrong about the
behavior.
rape, I will get on my knees and beg you for forgiveness. Did I not say that?
Yeah, but you haven't.
Exactly, because I haven't been proven wrong yet. I want the truth. If I'm wrong, if the police, no matter what they're doing, the FBI, the CBI, the CBS, whoever, okay, if they
I
tell
don't know
me
what
I'm
that
wrong,
is.
I will
EUPD.
publicly, in front of the world, get on
They're
camera
alleging
and
that
say,
she
"Well,
has
I'm
multiple
sorry."
personality
Until that
disorder, by the way.
happens,
That's
we're
what the
gonna find the
defense going
truth.
with, which is
How can you
technically
tell
called
me that
something else, but I
someone
can't
didn't
remember the name
I
of
don't
it.
understand. How can you tell me that someone didn't do something to hurt me and take me?
It was
I'm not telling you that. I'm
Taylor,
telling
her
you
other
that
personality,
it
that did
hasn't
all
been
this.
proven one way or the
That's
other.
the
You said you
defense.
banged your head on the freaking table. Now I got to tell them to go check out the table and see if there's any blood or any of your.
Do that. They had already asked that.
Okay, but that's the first I heard of it. You see what I'm saying?
You never would talk to me. You literally just sat here in a conversation and asked me, did I kill our child?
Yes, I did because if you say no, then I can't. I'll stop thinking that you did it. Okay.
Maybe, but that's
Horrible.
I
not
don't know
what was
to think.
discussed.
My son's blood. You're telling me his blood's all over the walls, and now you're telling me the Mexican guy that had the gun to your head or whatever took him away, and he knows him, and he could be anywhere.
Hold on.
Oh, is this where she comes
where
up
did
with?
you get that piece from?
That was what that. So now you got me
The new
twisting all
name?
your stories up because that was from the first time you told me the
Quincy
rape
Brown.
story.
That's right.
He had a gun to your head. You told me it was your gun. You told me, but you told me it was your gun. So that's fine. I'm not debating the points here. But
I said the black one.
okay, fine. But I mean,
You know in your heart I would never hurt Gannon.
yes, I absolutely believe that. But I'm doing everything I can to help you right now. And if you, but Tisha, listen. The thing is, if you don't, but it's not just. I asked you if you killed him. You said no, and I'm sorry. That was a hard question. But if you know anything, or you did anything, or just upset about it, we can work together, and I can help you. But I can't help you if you don't tell me anything. It's just there's so many unknowns, Tisha.
I feel like that might be a
Oh my
made-up
God.
disorder for people who are too
I mean, did anything happen that was an
detached
accident
from
that you're
rational thought.
scared about?
too emotional.
Really?
I'm just trying to teach you.
But again,
my
can I
army training.
tell
I'm
the
trained
difference
to
between right
ask
and
all
wrong?
these questions to get us in a safe place, right? And that's why I took the guns out from the get-go. That's just my training kicking in.
Oh my God, I really thought, I thought out of this conversation.
The Al, her
Like, I
now
really
ex-husband,
thought
also
you were gonna be
testified that this
supportive of me. I
he,
thought you were gonna
he
bring
had
their
conversations
family
of
back
this nature
together.
with her before.
And I
So
thought that we were
I
gonna
imagine
talk
this was
about
sort of an ongoing
everything
thing in their
every single
relationship.
day of nothing but Gannon.
That's what I'm trying to do.
She has had several. She had several competency exams as well, whether or not she's
Well,
competent
I'm
to stand
glad you
trial. She
said
was
no.
determined to be
That
competent
gives
to
me a
stand
lot of
trial.
hope and peace.
And she had some other psychological evaluations, and apparently the defense has an expert as well.
Maybe you might have a brother. Maybe.
And the competency
We cried about Kobe.
has
We
no
don't
bearing
like
on whether or
him.
not she was insane at the
What?
time. It only is whether or not currently she's able to stand trial.
Okay,
Dog.
okay, Tisha. Let me ask it this way then. I don't believe you killed him. Did something bad happen to him, and he maybe he is dead or not with us anymore, and
I
you
can't
just
remember.
panicked and didn't know what to do? I mean, is there anything like that? Just any information is what I
She
need.
might have
I
the same thing, though.
We can help you. I can
Sounds
help
kind of
you
Amber Heard-ish.
get through this. But it's, I mean,
I'm
we
not
gotta
saying
know
it's
the
a
information
made-up
about Bubba.
diagnosis. I'm just saying it sounds
just
like
think of- I
people
mean-
might use it as a justification for their bad
Yes,
behaviors.
I'm just trying to figure out what happened to him. He's gone and nobody knows anything, but you were the last one to hear him speak. Okay, which was Monday when you were driving around and he left the house.
His
Last time we heard him
histrionic,
speak, I don't know.
what is that? Histrionic,
I don't know when that was, before I
narcissistic
left,
disorder or something
probably.
like that. That's what I think Amber Heard was.
When I left and he went downstairs to watch Pokemon, that's the
Histrionic.
last memory I have of him.
Well, let
Something
me
or
tell
other.
you
I think it's very similar to what
People
Amber
don't
Heard had.
have the life that I have. People don't just be a normal person, just doing their thing, finally have what they want to do and be in the sky working. Oh, they don't do that. People
This is what
premeditate
the defense
things
is
in
going
life.
with in this case. This
There's no sign
disorder.
or indications of anything that I would have ever hurt those children. I fought for you. I fought for them.
Yes, you did. You fought for all of us. You're right. I'm not
It's all about her.
questioning any of that, Tisha. I just did an accident happen? I mean, other than the candle or the burn? I don't know. I'm just trying to ask all the questions.
I've worked with children long enough, Albert. If an accident happened, I'm smart enough. I know what to do. I've had plenty of friends who've been
For
in
Amber Heard.
situations where they've been in the classroom. They accidentally dropped the kid. The kid might have broke their leg. You go to the people, you tell them it's an accident, and you work through it.
Okay, so all right, you also said something that was calmed my heart, tremendously about Bubba. That basically you didn't premeditate anything. So whatever happened to him had to be an accident, just like the candle. And obviously you wouldn't plan on something like that because you're a teacher and you do all.
Yeah, this is the bottom line.
Babysitting events. I know you wouldn't.
She gets
hurt
emotional
kids
and mad when she
intentionally,
doesn't get her way.
But whatever happened was an accident, and I know you didn't plan it.
I didn't have anything to do with it. Why are you saying this to me?
So he would have had to have died naturally then. Other than
He's dead.
I don't know, Tisha.
I can't even believe you are saying that Gannon is alive. What's wrong with you?
Because it's just none of this makes any sense. I mean, he would have been found by now. Okay, he didn't. All the cameras, all that footage shows him not leaving the house other than in the truck. And I like I said, I'm just trying to help you get through this.
Help me.
Yes, help you because.
Help me get through this.
Because I am trying to help you. I want to know what happened to Gannon and try to help
Bye,
you
Dave.
keep
Good
Holly
luck.
safe in everything that I've said the whole time because that's who I am and you know that.
See what y'all think. This is what y'all think. Y'all think somebody's gonna come in here and say something just to appease everyone. But a true person who is completely innocent, you can keep putting me down in the ground all you want to because I didn't do it.
So first of all, let's assume for the sake of argument that she truly is innocent, just for the sake of argument. Her changing stories, her attempt to explain maybe too much is a good example of why you don't necessarily want to talk to people when you're a suspect. Because the fact that she's changing her story so many times is the biggest thing that
I know. So
that makes her culpable in this case. And if you are truly innocent,
why are you not with your wife and daughter?
playing devil's advocate
I'm
here,
gonna tell you
you
the
don't
truth
talk
right
to the
now
police, you don't
because
talk
of
to
this
anyone
conversation,
because
Tisha.
this is what could
I
happen.
don't know, and I've told you that the whole time. I'm confused. I'm all over the place. I just
Right.
can't.
Court might
I
be
can't
coming
get the
back
truth from you or the police.
shortly. I'm going to pull that up. But that was very telling in my mind. Oh, here we go. Hey, Jamie.
Hi.
The recordings were very. Sorry, I was still going in my ear. The recordings were very damning, from my perspective. But what are your thoughts? Think she can get around the recordings?
No,
I don't think so.
not at all. I think what everyone is saying is absolutely correct. She is backed into a corner. She's used to
All
getting
right,
her
court
way.
will recall 20 CR 1358, People versus Letecia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury is not present in the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time? Prosecution?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Better camera
Defense?
angles, maybe? Can
All
you
right,
do that?
let's go ahead and bring the jury back in.
All right. So what were you saying, Jimmy?
I was just saying she's used to getting her way and it's not working and she's getting frustrated. So
Yeah.
it's just like a brat. That's what she seems like. It's just like,
and that seems to be a character trait from her youth, at least according to people on the internet, which is always reliable. But people who say that they knew her when she was younger seem to indicate the same things. That was actually, I believe, idea of the investigators that said, hey, why don't you come into this interrogation room and we'll record some phone calls and you talk to her and see what information you can get out of her. But Dad,
All rise
played a
for the jury,
massive
please.
role in that. All right, jury is coming in, and we will get to the next witness. Jury is no longer on break, or court is no longer on break. Oh, I have so many banners. I got to start deleting some of these. I get confused. Let's see, we're on witness 9 now. I'm surprised the jury didn't have any questions for this one.
Court will recall 20 CR 1358. People versus Letecia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury has returned to the courtroom. Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. We would call Jason Hess, Hess.
Thank you.
Jason.
Yeah, I love
is
those
Jason?
great questions.
Officer Hess, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, sir.
I guess he's a police officer.
Do you swear affirm the testimony about to give in this man will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
That she did for sure.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Will you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your name for the record?
My name is Jason Hess. I'm a lieutenant with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Last name Hess.
How long have you been with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office?
For 26 years.
What kind of roles have you served on with the Sheriff's Office?
I've been a deputy assigned to detentions, assigned to the patrol division, the SWAT team, a supervisor for the SWAT team, a supervisor on patrol, both sergeant role and a lieutenant.
What was your employment back in January of 2020?
I was a sergeant assigned to the patrol division.
What are duties associated with a assigned to patrol?
For patrol, we're responding to calls for service, proactive policing, traffic enforcement, and general community concerns.
Is it fairly common to have a lot of contact with members of the community?
Yes, it is.
Some point, did you get involved in the Gannon Stauch missing child investigation?
Yes, I did.
What was your role in that investigation?
I was at the office of the sheriff performing some administrative duties and became aware of the call that had occurred the night before and that an 11-year-old Gannon was reported missing that night. And I started making some phone calls to help further that.
Excuse me, just so we're understanding when this exactly happened, you referenced the night before.
January 28th is when I became aware of it.
So you became aware on January 28th?
Yes.
And the call actually occurred on January 27th?
Correct.
Of 2020?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know if it's. I noticed that too.
Did you have an occasion to call
just the
a
graininess
female
actually
at a
doing that?
particular phone number that you understood to be the stepmother of Gannon?
Yes, I did.
You remember the phone number that you called?
I do not remember the phone number.
Yeah, okay, we'll come back to that. How did you obtain that phone number?
It was from the previous call for service records that we have internally from the call that had occurred.
When you called the person, did that person expect you to be calling, or was this just a cold call?
It was a
That's
cold
the
call. I
defendant.
was just following up on information.
Who were you trying to get a hold of?
I was trying to get a hold of the parents of Gannon or the person that had called in the original report, Letecia.
Did you identify the person that answered the phone?
Yes, as best you can over the phone by just asking questions.
So what, describe male or female?
Female?
Did you have subsequent contact with that person face to face?
Yes.
The voice that you heard on that particular call, did that coincide with a person that you met face to face?
Yes, from what I could tell.
And so the person that you were talking to on that phone call, who was that person?
Letecia.
Letecia Stauch?
Yes.
What did you want to gather from Letecia Stauch at that particular time?
The first thing I wanted to know is had Gannon returned home? And if he had not, had she learned any information or got any other information as to where he might be?
What information did Letecia Stauch give you during that phone call?
That he had not returned home and she had no further information.
Did she also make reference to the fact that deputies had searched the home the night before?
Yes, one of the procedures that we do is to conduct a search, and I wanted to make sure that had occurred. So I asked her if deputies had searched the home, and she said that they had.
Did you get from her permission to put Gannon's photo out in the media?
Yes, I did.
Did she give you a photo or did you already have one?
I do not recall if I asked her to send one or if one was obtained during the original report, but we did have a photo, and I provided that to our public information officer to push that out to media and social media resources to get his photograph out there and available.
And did that in fact occur, that a photo of Gannon was pushed out?
Yes, pretty quickly that occurred.
Did you do any searches yourself on that January 28th day?
Yes, after the photo went out to the media, some tips had come in about people seeing a child walking in certain areas, and I drove to some of those areas and began searching.
So let's talk a little bit in bigger picture here. The report was either missing or runaway child, is that right?
Yes.
Does that sort of guide you in those early stages of a case like that as to what you might be doing?
Yes, and then the age of the child is also a major factor.
So tell the jury about that, those factors that you would be considering and how that would potentially drive the investigation in those early stages.
In this particular case, an 11-year-old child who is unaccounted for during winter months, so cold, and now overnight, is at an extreme risk, and they're considered that within our agency. So additional resources are immediately put into place to start that search, which would be different than a 16-year-old who's run away 5 times in the past and has come back a day later. So different styles of approach to those.
That was
And
how she looked.
as it
through
relates
the
to
days,
the
and
information
that
you had,
is a photo
who was it
of
that reported that
Aaron
Gannon
from
was
the
either
office.
missing or had run away?
His stepmother, Letecia.
On that same day of January 28, 2020, did you respond to Starbucks on Mesa Ridge Parkway?
Yes, I did.
Why did you go to Starbucks?
I learned that some of the detectives had come out to meet with Gannon's parents and speak to them. And I went over there to see if there was anything else I could do on efforts with doing searching or canvassing.
Did you actually see the parents of Gannon Stauch at that time?
Yes, I did. I sat at a table with our 2 detectives and them.
I've been going back and forth
The
between
person that you had been on the
images
phone
for
with
the
earlier the
defendant.
morning of January 28th, and now the person that was at Starbucks, was that Letecia Stauch?
Yes, it was.
Do you see her here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Will you identify her to the court and to the jury by where she's sitting and what she's wearing?
Sitting over on our far right against the wall in a pink shirt.
All right, ask that the record reflects he's identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect. Go ahead.
At some point during that contact with the father and the defendant, were you able to look at what was described to you as Gannon's phone?
Yes, I did.
Why did you do that?
Trying to determine if he had searched anywhere on like a Google Maps feature where there would be a history that might direct me on somewhere to go.
Would that be something that you would typically look for if you're looking for a missing child or a runaway child?
Sometimes you don't know where to look, so you look at all available information, and that is one thing that you would look for is did they search somewhere to go or enter a friend's address or something like that that maybe they hadn't walked to before to give them a route or something.
And not necessarily asking you for the address that you found in there, but did you learn of an address and then that ran to ground, meaning it was not really associated with the missing person here?
Correct.
Did the defendant herself at some point show you a picture of somebody that had been reported that looked like Gannon or that she thought was Gannon?
Yes, there had been some Facebook groups that were active in attempts to help locate Gannon, and she had been forwarded a photograph from one of those groups.
Did you do anything with that information?
We took that photograph and attempted to identify if it was in fact Gannon or not, and we were subsequently able to determine that it was not Gannon and that somebody else identified it as their child based on clothing and items they were carrying.
So she took a picture of some other kid.
Did you become familiar with Gannon's neighborhood, so Lorson Ranch area, during this part of the investigation?
Yes, I did.
Did you canvass that neighborhood?
Yes, I did.
What does that mean to canvass a neighborhood?
There's many parts of it. The typical part that you would assume is police officers knocking on your door, asking questions, asking if you have surveillance cameras that are showing the roadway or sidewalks, driving through areas where
Insane.
kids might play under bridges, construction
What's her thought
sites,
behind that?
things like that.
Did you do those things?
Yes, I did.
Did that lead to any clues that you were readily able to find to locate Gannon?
No, it did not.
In the afternoon time, did you actually go to Gannon's home at 6627 Mandan Drive?
Yes, I did.
Why did you go there?
I wanted to clarify the timeline because I had not been part of the initial part of the investigation on when he would have left the house. So as I knocked on doors at different neighbors, I had a timeline to ask to look at their security camera feeds.
Did you have any contact with people at that residence?
Yes, I did.
Who was there?
There were several people that were unidentified to me. I think friends and family members, Letecia and Eugene.
So the defendant and Gannon's father?
Yes, and their daughter.
Did you try to verify a time from the defendant that would be of note for the investigation?
Yes.
What did
Why
she tell
give
you?
the wrong
It
photo
was
to the
between
police?
3:15 and 4-ish approximately when he would have left the house.
Did she
I know,
describe
okay,
in that
remember now.
statement to you what she was doing when she reports that Gannon left the house?
Between her and her daughter during the conversation, it came up that a candle had been knocked over and there was a burn mark on the carpet, and she had been taking care of that when Gannon left.
Somebody had
Trying to
put their
fix that
kid
burn area?
on a
Yes.
bicycle.
Did she describe in any detail anything about that candle or burn incident to you?
Not specifically, no.
Okay. Did you ask the defendant what friend's house Gannon may have been heading towards?
Yes, I did.
What did she tell you?
She didn't know.
Did you then return to the house on a later date, January 31st, 2020?
Yes, I did.
Why did you go on that date?
I received a phone call from our investigations division, and they asked me to go to the house and told me that Letecia and some family members might be removing property from the house, and that they thought Letecia and another daughter of hers might be wearing smartwatches that could potentially contain some digital evidence that may be helpful in the investigation.
Did you in fact go to the house?
Yes, I did.
Did you see different vehicles than other times when you'd been in the neighborhood?
Yes, there was a van that was there, and then some other just personal cars.
Let's talk about that van. What do you remember about the van?
It was a not like a U-Haul moving van, but a van that you could, like a cargo van that you could pack stuff in, and they were unloading items from the house and packing it into the van.
Was it a white van?
Yes, it was.
Did you also see a Nissan vehicle there?
Yes, I did. I believe it was silver, if I recall correctly.
I'm sorry, say that last
I
part.
believe it was silver, if I recall correctly.
Okay. Do you
haven't
remember,
alleged
was it a
that,
Nissan
no.
Altima?
Sounds correct, yes.
How many people did you see there that were helping the defendant move things out of the house into the van as you described it?
There were probably 4 or so directly, but there were also other people present. So what each person's role was, I don't know exactly, but I know there were a couple at the van helping load stuff. I believe an aunt that was there as well as her mother.
So let's talk about the aunt. Was that person Brenda Awkward?
I believe so, yes.
And spelling on that, do you remember it off the top of your head? Does ACQUARD sound correct?
Sounds correct.
What vehicle was Brenda Awkward associated with?
Nissan, I believe.
Was she in fact the driver of that vehicle?
I believe so, yes.
Did you talk to her at all? And I'm not asking you for statements, but did you talk to her?
It would have been briefly, yes.
Okay. Other people that you identified that were associated with the defendant and potentially helping her load things into
That's
the
what I'm
van?
thinking, but the police are
Can you
saying
tell us
she's not
those names?
involved.
I do not recall everybody's name, but I remember Harley was there, her mother was there, her aunt. I think there was another male that was there assisting as well.
Harley, who was that in relation to the defendant?
Daughter,
Okay. And then mother, is that Deborah?
yes.
And then you said a male, would that be Dakota Lowry?
I believe so, yes.
Do you know his relation to the defendant?
Not specifically. I thought he was a son, but I wasn't exactly sure.
Okay.
Conferencing for a second. Okay. I don't like the way that the state portrayed the defendant as giving them a fake photograph of Gannon. That's what I took away from the questioning, and I'm assuming that was what the state's intent was. But what she actually did was there was a Facebook post, I remember now, of another child that someone on
Lieutenant, when
Facebook
I was
thought
asking
might-
you earlier if you remember the number of the person that you called on the morning of January 28th, you said you didn't remember, but if you looked at your report, you might be able to remember.
Yes, I documented that in my report.
I've got your report here. Would showing you that refresh your memory on that point?
Yes, it would.
Ask for permission to approach the witness for refreshing his memory.
You may go ahead.
Yeah, that was kind of, I mean, that's the way I took it with the photograph thing, is that she intentionally tried to mislead the police. And that someone corrected me that
Yes.
that was someone else that posted on Facebook.
Yes, it does.
What number was that?
843-655-7460.
Thank you.
Yeah, she knew it wasn't Gannon, obviously, because Gannon was dead. So yes, technically, but she didn't. It's not like she gave like here.
I want to get
random
into
kid.
more detail about
Put it
the
on the
statement
flyer.
that you got from the defendant when you went to the house after that phone call on January 28th. How long would you say that conversation lasted?
Just a couple of minutes.
Do you remember details of what she told you in that conversation?
Some of it, yes.
What do you remember specifically her telling you?
I had asked her if she knew where Gannon had gone, so I had a direction to go to and contact that house or houses in between. She said that she did not know. Her daughter made a comment about her mom being.
Mr. Allen?
I was reading the report and I couldn't tell who he was referring to there.
He said her daughter.
Yeah, so I'm not asking you for any statements right now. From daughter. I'm asking you for statements of the defendant.
Okay. She had made mention that she might have got a little excited during the fire during that.
Okay.
Just a little.
Did she describe specifically what she did in relation to that fire?
I recalled her saying she tried to put it out with a blanket, and originally the blanket caused it to get slightly bigger, and then she was able to put it out.
So basically, was she describing that she was trying to smother the fire?
Yes.
Yes, Harley did go to Florida with her, and then on to South Carolina. They traveled with Gannon.
Did
in
she
the suitcase in the
describe,
car.
and when I say she again, I'm talking about the defendant, did she describe that Gannon had got something on his shirt?
Yes, that's what we're told.
Overruled. Go ahead and answer.
Yes.
What did she say about that?
It was pretty vague. It was just he had something on the front of his shirt that had gotten on there during the fire incident.
Okay, may I have just a moment here?
You may.
This officer's involvement is not terribly clear to me.
Was there a younger daughter there as well?
Yes.
Did you ever
Yes,
get that
that's
daughter's
true.
name?
I did not.
Would you say rough age?
Approximately 8.
Did she at some point point to you direction of which direction Gannon may have walked to?
Yes, she did.
And which direction was she generally pointing?
She pointed east from the house, referring to a friend of Gannon's that lived a few houses down.
Okay. Now I want to get into some other information as it relates to your experience and then what you learned in this case. Have you responded out to other calls where a kid in this rough age range is missing or had run away?
Yes, I have.
How many types of those calls have you gone out to, would you say?
It'd be hard to put a number on it, but over my career, a lot, probably in excess of 30 runaway or missing persons style calls.
When you go out to those types of calls, have you had opportunities to observe people's emotional reactions to that sort of an event?
Yes, I have.
Is it fair to say that the emotional reactions can vary?
Yes, it is.
Based on your contact with this defendant in this case, did her reactions and the way that she was interacting with you, was it consistent with other times that you've gone out
Yes,
on these
my
types
only
of calls or
objective
different?
defense. He's not a qualified medical personnel.
Overruled. I don't think Mr. Allen is asking for an expert opinion. I think he's asking for an opinion based on his prior encounters with other individuals. So it goes to weight, not admissibility. Overruled. You can go ahead and answer.
In similar situations where a child as young as Gannon, 11 years old, is missing or has run away for the first time, there's usually a little more emotional reaction, especially when it has now been overnight and a second day. The emotions are usually more visible and present. It's not always the case, but most of the time it is when a parent's child has gone missing and they have no idea where they are
So
now
they
for a
can
period of 2 days.
properly cross on this. And
During your law enforcement career, have you dealt with people that, excuse me, that are dealing with severe mental health disorders or diseases?
Yes, I have.
Can you approximate, or is it too many to even put a number on?
It would be difficult to put a number on that.
Was the defendant in your contact with her on January 28th and on January 31st, did she appear to be suffering from any severe mental health disorder or disease?
object again. That's a medical opinion. Are they going?
Overruled.
Really, Judge?
You can answer.
It did not appear to me, no.
Did she, when you were talking with her, asking her questions, would her answers logically follow the questions?
Yes.
Did she appear to understand, I guess, what you were asking about?
Yes.
Was she able to give you specific answers to those questions?
Yes, she was.
Thank you. That's all I have here.
Sorry. All right. Cross-examination.
In your experience, how long have you been in law enforcement?
26 years.
In your 26 years, how many people have you dealt with that suffer from dissociative identity disorder?
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I don't know exactly what disorder people may have to be suffering from.
Do you know if you've ever dealt with anybody who suffered from dissociative identity disorder?
I would believe I've probably come in contact with them.
How many?
I don't know.
No further questions.
Redirect.
Did the defendant, based on what you just testified to, did she appear to be suffering from dissociative identity disorder?
Objection. He doesn't know.
Thank you.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Lieutenant Hess? No? All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down.
So that was good,
Prosecution, call
Rob.
your next witness, please.
Finally, they're actually asking questions. I'm not surprised that they should have been doing that with some of the prior witnesses too, because these are not mental health professionals that are testifying to this, and so the cross was appropriate.
Next witness is?
Yes, Your Honor, Leslie Hicks.
Thank you.
Leslie Hicks.
Is the daughter supposed to testify? Do we know?
She's on the witness list, but I don't know if she's going to.
Ms. Hicks, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, ma'am.
True. Very true. We can ask a lot about what he hasn't
Start
been
out there first. Raise your right hand. You swear
Point
affirm the
is
testimony
that-
about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
The
Go ahead and
defense
see
has
the
an
witness stand. Please
obligation
watch your
here,
step as you step into the stand.
and they haven't been fulfilling that obligation, in my opinion.
No.
Good morning, Ms. Hicks.
Good morning.
For the purposes of the record, would you state your name?
Leslie Hicks.
And how are you employed?
I'm employed at Academy School District 20 as an assistant principal.
And about how long have you been employed at that school?
At the school, I'm currently at Timberview Middle School, but I was at Mountain Ridge Middle School for almost 25 years. I was there from 1997, with the exception of 2 years.
And in January of 2020, what school were you at?
I was at Mountain Ridge Middle School.
And as an assistant principal?
Correct.
How long have you generally been in that type of role?
At that time, I had been in that role for 3 years.
And prior to that, what sort of role had you had in education and that kind of context?
I was a teacher in several subject areas at 3 different grade levels. I also served as an intervention coordinator at Mountain Ridge prior to the assistant principal role. And I was at Rampart High School for 2 years as an interventionist, but for about 17 years, I was a teacher.
Okay. And in terms of the course of your role as an assistant principal over the years, how many interviews have you been a part of?
Hundreds. I've interviewed probably hundreds of people, both in the role as a teacher and as an assistant principal. And
That's how she usually
interventionist,
looks.
probably over the span of that 20 plus years, definitely hundreds of interviews.
And why is that interview process so important for the nature of the work?
Okay, because we're trying to find the best person to educate our children. And it's very important that we put the best people in front of our kids.
Okay. As a part of the open applications for the school that you were at in January 2020, was there an applicant by the name of Letecia Stauch?
Yes, it was.
And for what position did Letecia Stauch apply for?
She applied for a resource teacher, which is a teacher for students that have IEPs or special education.
And as part of that interview process, did you meet in person with someone by the name of Letecia Stauch?
Yes.
And do you see that same person here today in court?
Yes, I do.
Can you identify them where they are seated in the courtroom?
Yes, over here.
Okay, and that is your right side?
That is my right side in the purple shirt.
In the purple shirt. Your Honor, may the record reflect that Ms. Hicks has identified the defendant?
The record will so reflect. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, Ms. Hicks, you explained that it's a resource teacher position. What are the roles and responsibilities of that position?
Okay, the role of the teacher in that position is to serve as a case manager for our students with learning disabilities. And that person would teach some classes to help meet the needs of those kids. And in our school, that person also worked as a co-teacher in classes with the general ed teacher and would work in partnership with that person.
And for that particular position, as it relates to working with this particular set of children, would that person also be responsible for making sure that students follow rules?
Yeah, I think every teacher at school is responsible for classroom
Is this the
management.
principal that the
and,
defendant thought she was more qualified
That's part of
in
the role of a teacher,
for the job?
is making sure that kids are performing the way they need to perform, both behaviorally and academically.
And as part of the onboarding process for employees, are they also given particular guidance about how to report violations from students, that sort of thing?
Yeah, within the school, yes. And that would be something as far as, how we manage that in our own buildings.
Okay. And as part of the interviewing process, what forms of communication did you have with the defendant?
We interviewed in person. She came into the school and we have a set of questions. We had an interview team. There were 3 of us on the interview team. And we asked her a series of questions that had to do with the topics that you were speaking of, both, how do you manage students academically and provide for them, as well as classroom management and behavior.
So in addition to meeting with someone in person for that interview panel, are communications also done through other forms? What other means?
After the interview or during
After,
the interview?
before, at any point with an applicant?
Before, it would be, actually, probably the secretary probably contacted her to set up a time for an interview. And then after the interview, if the candidate is chosen, then I would reach out and I would be checking references and then reaching out ultimately to decide whether we want to move forward with a hire or not.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with what has been marked as People's Exhibit 207 previously shown to the defense.
You may go ahead.
That might be.
I'm going to ask you to look at People's Exhibit 207. Take a moment to familiarize yourself with that first page.
Hold it right in front of the camera there for us, if you would, please.
And I'll ask you to look through the messages that follow and familiarize yourself with those.
I did leave my glasses in my purse. Could I get those? I
Yes.
apologize.
If that would help you.
Yes, it would help.
I don't think she liked the kids. I don't think she liked the burden, but she liked the money that her husband was able to provide.
I apologize.
It's all good.
She
Thank you.
abused Gannon to the point of essentially no return on the 27th, and then disposed of him by killing him in order to try to cover it up. That's what I think happened. She abused him because she got angry because of the candle incident. And
Ms. Hicks, I'll actually stop you there on that that first page of messages. Do you recognize the telephone numbers that appear on that page?
Yes, I do.
Which one is your telephone number? Do
My
you recognize-
number is 719-400-8405.
Okay.
Ms. Hicks?
Yes.
This is sort of an unfamiliar experience for a lot of people.
Yes.
The lady to your right is taking down everything we say as we say it. So it's important to remember, let the attorney finish the question all the way before you give an answer, and she'll let you finish your answer. It's common in ordinary conversations that we talk over each other, but it makes the court reporter's job really, really hard if you do that in the courtroom. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
So you recognize a telephone number that's associated that you use. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And not to read from it, but do you recognize the other telephone number?
Yes.
Okay. And how generally do you recognize that telephone number?
It's been a while since I've looked at this, but I remember the area code, and the number does look familiar to me.
Okay. And what number did you use? Who did you use that number to communicate with?
Ms. Stauch.
Okay. I'll ask you to look through the remainder of the messages to familiarize yourself with them.
Okay.
just waiting. I really wish we could see these texts and exhibits, but it is what it is. At least we have a close-up of the defendant now in her weird position she puts her body in. Mind you, if she was sitting straight at the table, she'd be looking directly across from it. So she's sort of contorted herself to the left. Puts her head down. She sometimes hides her face in her shirt, in her hair. There was a video of her arraignment where she was playing with her hair. I think she's got a weird...
And you'll have an opportunity to read them.
Okay.
But I just generally, as you flip through the pages, if you can make sure that they represent a text message exchange that you're familiar with.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
And are they?
Yes.
And are they a fair and accurate depiction of the message exchange you had between yourself and the phone number that you know to be associated with Letecia Stauch?
Yes.
All right, Your Honor, this time we would move for the admission of People's Exhibit 207.
Defense, Exhibit 207 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Okay. And Your Honor, permission to publish.
You may.
Ms. Hicks, messages are going to be displayed behind you.
Okay.
If it's easy for you to stand next to that, you can do that. We may still have a pointer there. You're probably familiar with using a pointer as a teacher. So if you want to use that.
Okay.
Great.
No,
Your
it's
Honor, if you would turn on the,
It is on.
up.
There we go.
Okay, great. Now, Ms. Hicks, you've explained that your telephone number. We see this first message displayed here on the screen. Who's sending that message?
I am.
Okay, and what does it say? Can you read it for us?
Hi, Tisha. This is Leslie Hicks at Mountain Ridge Middle School. I left you a phone message yesterday, and I'm wondering if you received it. Would it be possible for you to call me today at this number or to email me? I'd like to talk to you about the resource teacher position. Thank you.
All right. And just to make sure that your voice is projecting to all of our jurors, is it possible for you to stand on the other side of the screen? All right. And what date was that message sent by you?
January 16th, 2020.
Okay, and we'll move on to the next message. And again, the telephone number that you see in this message, you're familiar with that number? Okay. And so we see a maybe Nicole. Does that mean anything to you? Okay. What is the response that you receive after you sent your first message?
I have iMessages. I will email you.
Okay. And what date was that sent?
1/16/2020.
Okay, great. And we'll move onwards.
116. No, that's very close.
What's your response?
Great, thank you.
Okay. The following day, you send another response. What did you send on January 17th?
Hi, Tisha. This is Leslie Hicks at Mountain Ridge again. I sent you an email yesterday. Is it possible for you to get back to me today? Thank you.
Okay. And did you get a response?
I emailed you back.
Okay. And was that sent to you the same day?
Correct.
And so, Ms. Hicks, as part of this process, at this point, January 17th-ish, where is the defendant in the application or hiring process at this point?
At this point, she has completed her interview and I'm in the process of checking references.
Okay. And if you want, you can take a seat now. We'll come back to more of the messages. So as part of that application process, you referenced obtaining references. Is that right?
Correct.
Was the defendant able to provide you with some references?
Yes, on her application, she had references, and I was having trouble getting a hold of some of the references. And so through the course of our dialogue,
references
I asked her for additional ones.
Okay. Do you remember a particular reference by the name of Connie Huddle?
Yes.
Do you remember the first telephone number that was provided to you for Connie Huddle?
I remember that it was an area code from South Carolina.
Okay.
I believe it was, I know it started with a six.
And that's
4.
fine.
Okay.
Fair to say it's been a while since you've seen that?
Yes, it has.
Okay. And do you recall giving a statement to Detective Marissa Williams on January 31st of 2020?
Yes,
Do you recall giving those specific telephone number to the detective that day?
I do.
And would seeing your statement refresh your recollection as to that specific telephone number?
Yes, it would.
Very appropriate when a witness does not
Your Honor, permission to
recall
approach?
You may, go ahead.
facts. You can use anything. It doesn't have to be their own statement, but you can use anything to refresh their memory. The witness is not going to be able to read off of it, but the witness can look at
All right,
the
Ms. Hicks, as far as the first telephone number that was provided to you by the defendant here, does that refresh your recollection?
There you go. And then ask that.
Yes.
And have the
Okay.
witness then testify.
What was the first telephone number the defendant provided to you for a contact named Connie Huddle?
It was 843-504-6724.
And what happened when you tried to contact that telephone number?
I have a caller ID on my telephone and the name Eugene Stauch came up.
That name?
Other than the last name, I was not familiar with the name at the time. No.
Gave
Okay.
her husband's
And
or probably
I
her
will-
phone number
I'll take a step back.
on her husband's account.
The first telephone number that you called,
Mhm.
was there more than one number that you were provided for Connie Huddle?
I don't remember.
Okay. And again, Your Honor, permission to approach?
You may.
Didn't her
Ms.
friend
Hicks,
was working
do you recall
PhD?
talking to Detective Williams and providing her with a very specific first telephone number?
Yes,
And would reviewing that statement refresh your recollection as to the first telephone number?
yes. Okay.
Okay. Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes,
What was the first telephone number that you called?
843-957-3486.
What happened when you called that first telephone number? Were you able to get through?
No,
What did you ask for after you didn't get through with that telephone number?
I asked if there was a different number.
Okay. And were you provided a different number by the defendant?
Yes.
Okay. And from memory, are you able to recall what that second number was?
843-604 6724.
All right. And I'll ask you again would seeing a statement of your report refresh your recollection as to that specific telephone number?
Yes.
Okay. And can you review your statement for that second specific telephone number?
Yes. 843-504-6724.
Okay, thank you. A lot of different numbers. You called various numbers as it relates to references.
Yes, I did.
And so now I'll come back to the question that I had is, when you were actually able to complete a call, can you tell the jury what you heard on that call?
Yes, a female answered and didn't identify who it was, but I heard children in the background.
And were you did you ask, what did you do when you
Yes,
heard?
I asked if it was Connie. And if I recall, the person said no. And
Hold on.
Okay,
Wait a minute.
sorry.
That's okay.
Yep.
Ms. Gratiano?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm not asking what the other person
That was
said.
a hearsay.
And-
Oh, okay.
But
Not a
further, it's
court
also not
statement,
offered for the
cannot
truth in the
be-
matter asserted.
Yep.
Okay. Well, then where are you going?
I'm just going to ask,
You were going for the truth of the
Your Honor,
matter.
permission to approach?
Okay.
She was going to so the truth of the matter asserted is, what are you trying to prove with this? So there's some exceptions, such as, well, I want to get the effect on the listener, like admit what somebody said on a 911 call, not because of what they said, but because the police showed up. That's what we want to get, the effect on the police. She wants to get in that the defendant either lied, or that was the defendant, or gave a different name or something like that. And that's the truth of the matter asserted. And whoever is on the other end of the phone are not, they're not in court. They're not subject to cross-examination. So that's hearsay, and it should be not admitted. It should be excluded under the hearsay rule. So that's a proper objection in my mind. Again, I'm not privy to all the facts and evidence, so there might be some justification that the state can argue as to why it should be admitted. But from what I'm hearing so far, it's hearsay and should be excluded. Although the jury has now heard that there was a woman on the other end of the line, and the person said no. That was, the witness stated that before the objection. So that's out there. And you can't really put that away. Can't squeeze that back into the toothpaste. So we're going to operate under the assumption that she gave out random phone numbers or did something. I want to play this other song, but I think I'm going to get struck if I do.
What other song?
All right, hang on. I'll play a second of it. I can get away with like 10 seconds, I think. All right, I don't know how much of that I can play. I gotta figure it out if I'm allowed to play it more, because then I will be. That'll be our whole music going forward.
right?
Objection sustained.
All right. Yeah, that was a good.
Ms. Hicks, how long was the duration of that call?
Just a few seconds.
Okay. After that interaction, did you have any sort of concerns about moving forward with the application process as it related to the defendant?
No.
Okay. And why is that? At that point, where were you at in the interview process?
Well, the interview had been completed. And as I said, we were checking for references. And so sometimes people give incorrect numbers. And so I asked for additional numbers for references.
In terms of educational background, is that also part of the interview process?
Yes.
Okay. And did the defendant provide you with some sort of information regarding an educational background?
I had access to her resume, yes.
Okay. In terms of the educational background, was there a particular degree that the defendant claimed that she had?
I did say she had a doctorate.
From where?
From Liberty University.
And were you able, as part of the interview process, able to vet that?
That's not my role. That's not my role.
Okay. In terms of during the application and interview process, did the defendant ask to be referred to by any other names?
No.
Okay. What about any other educational references, either through speaking with her or through emails, text messages, any other way that she wanted to be referred to as?
She did sign her emails, Dr. Stauch.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Doctor? Oh.
Dr. Stauch.
Ultimately, what was the decision with regard to hiring the defendant?
We did eventually offer her a position.
Did?
And is that a decision that you unilaterally make?
During the interview process, there are 3 of us that decided that we would like to move forward. And then I do the reference checks, and then I bring that information to my principal, and we decided to move forward.
Okay.
Yes.
And so based on that decision, when would have been the first time that she made contact with either you or the school at that point?
Well, at that point, it's a recommendation for hire goes to our district human resources department, and the rest of the process goes through them. And then once they are have gone through their process, she's recommended to come over to the school.
Okay. And for that, was she recommended to come to the school?
Yes.
And do you recall a rough approximation of when that would have happened?
Yes, the 22nd of January.
Of 2020?
Yes.
If we can project people's 207 again, Your Honor.
They were either really desperate for somebody or she's very good at
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. As we scroll onwards past January 17th, we will move to, we can continue on, and we'll move to, looks like January 20th. There's a message that is sent by the defendant's telephone number. What is that message?
What time do I be there tomorrow?
Okay, and what date is that sent?
That is 1/21.
Okay. And the subsequent message after that, what else does that message, that phone number say to you?
And do I need to bring anything specific? I just hung up with the district and they said to be there tomorrow.
Great. And what was your response?
Hi, Tisha. We're so excited to have you here. The workday begins at 7:30. You don't need to bring anything in particular. We will have a sub there tomorrow that has been filling in. You'll have an opportunity to shadow him and meet the kids, as well as get set up with the things you will need. Sherry Fuller, our SPED department leader, will meet you tomorrow as well. See you soon.
Great. And what was the next exchange that the defendant's telephone number sent to you?
good evening.
And what date was that sent?
And that date is on the 22nd.
Okay, and can you read?
January.
Great. Can you read the rest of the message?
I wanted to ask your guidance about what to do about tomorrow. I had scheduled that interview at the district office before getting hired. I understand they probably have someone someone in mind, but I don't want to burn any bridges and would like to at least let them know my interest in eventually moving up later, or even if it's a year or so. I know we have to all start somewhere. What do you think is the best approach to take? Thank you.
Great. And what was your response to that
Moving up,
message?
Getting promotion.
Hi, Tisha. It is your choice if you want to choose to interview tomorrow. Please remember that you will need a substitute and sub-plans to cover the classes you will miss. Please let us know if you need assistance with that. Thank you.
Great. And the next message that you received from the defendant's telephone number?
Well, they told me to do the fingerprints too, so I was just trying to do the right thing.
And the message after that?
Okay, I will just try to do the right thing by everyone. I didn't want to stand anyone up and wanted to be loyal to our school too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
And
yeah,
the next message?
right away. She was
It's
over
8 a.m. I mentioned it before in our emails, but wanted to make sure to follow the necessary steps. They did say I could do the fingerprints while I'm there, so I could get some link to do the paperwork. I haven't done any of that.
Ms. Hicks, how would you generally describe this type of exchange in these messages?
Overruled.
I would say that they be typical of somebody who is just a new employee.
Okay. Conscientious, would that? Okay.
Conscientious and wanting to do
Maybe a
the,
little leading the witness there.
making sure that she's putting herself in her best job.
All right. At some point, was there arrangements made for her to shadow somebody at the school and be present?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall the last time you saw the defendant in person?
The last time I saw her in person was that Friday morning of the 25th.
And how would you generally describe her demeanor?
She was at work and working and meeting the kids. She was running a class.
And
really her demeanor.
it's a little tricky, but would Friday the 24th sound more accurate?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So Friday, January 24th, her demeanor was appropriate?
Yes.
Okay. Did she ask to be referred to by any other names?
No.
Did she appear to you, based on your work in being around teachers and hiring, did she appear to be going through any sort of mental health crisis?
No.
Okay. Subsequent to seeing her on Friday, January 24th, what was the next contact that you had with her, either in person or through other form?
I received a text message from her on Monday, 27th.
All right. And if we could move to Monday morning, January 27th, through the messages. You should appear.
She just got her new job too, and all of her world
On
falls
page
apart.
5.
The 27th, that day.
What time was the message from the defendant's phone sent to your phone on January 27th of 2020?
3 a.m.
Okay. Did you read it at 3 a.m.?
No.
What were you doing? Okay. What did the message say?
I'm sorry for the time of night message, but my stepfather passed away. Someone hit him with a car while he was walking. I can update you at a later time.
All right. Subsequent message that your phone received, what was that message?
The message?
Was it the same? Was it different?
The same message,
Okay. What time was that message?
4:37 a.m.
Okay. So it's exactly the same as the message that was sent at 3 a.m. from the defendant's phone? At some point that morning, did you wake up?
Yes.
Okay. Like a busy assistant principal, were you then able to look at all your messages?
Yes.
Okay. When you had an opportunity to read this message, what was your response?
I responded saying, "Oh my goodness, Letecia, I'm so sorry."
Okay. And we'll move onwards. What else did you say?
And then shall we try to find a sub for you today?
Okay. And about what time is this based on the timestamps we see here?
5:50 a.m.
Okay. Subsequent response by the defendant's telephone number. We'll move up. What was that response?
2 question marks. It's apparent all my family lives in the East Coast. I'm trying to find a way to get there.
And what time was that sent?
I was sent at 7:21.
Okay. What was your response to that message?
Okay, I'm just trying to understand your plans so that we can find coverage. Am I understanding that you will not be in today?
And what time was that sent?
7:32.
And the response from the defendant's phone?
Yes, it's my parent. I can't believe I can't believe that would not be an assumption in a time like this.
And your response to that?
I'm so sorry for your loss and we will support you, but I cannot make assumptions. I do need some direction from you. We will get a sub today. Please let us know what else you need moving forward.
Okay. Ms. Hicks, you can take a seat now. Thank
I was
you.
distracted. What was that last text she asked about?
Well, she said, "Are you not going to be in today?" And she's like, "This is my
That-
step-parent. I can't believe you would make
The
that."
text message exchange that occurred on January 27th that morning, how would you describe the tone of that exchange?
Angry.
Okay. In terms of candidates, and now a hired candidate contacting you, was your phone number provided for this type of emergency?
Could you repeat the question?
When there is an emergency, as far as whether or not somebody can be at work, what's the procedure? What is that person supposed to do?
Typically, they might contact their supervisor and let them know what's happening. We do have a system to get a substitute, but she wouldn't have gone through that training as yet.
So instead of going through that process because she hadn't received that training, what other avenue would she have had to inform you of an emergency?
To contact me as her supervisor through either phone or email.
Okay. Had you had any other contact with the defendant after that last exchange we saw in
No.
People's 207?
No.
Any cross? I think they're done with this witness.
Your Honor, we'll pass the witness.
Cross-examination. No good. Do any of the jurors have any questions for Ms. Hicks? No. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
All right.
may
Thank
step
you.
down.
No.
We're going to go into the next witness, or are we breaking for lunch? Probably break for lunch. She looks so ashamed sitting there with her
Counsel approach,
hands
please.
in her face.
Well, yeah,
Is she
she's
smiling?
freaking jerk off.
Okay, so she identifies herself as doctor. That's great. I've
Yeah.
fixed my my little image at the top right screen. And then what's the vetting process for the school? I mean, all these lies, the numbers aren't going through, and yet they still recommend her to the board.
Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Yeah. And
I
like
didn't hear the name.
verify her education. Like,
All right, sir, if you would step
any of
forward,
that?
raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the witness stand.
All right, who is this guy?
Mr. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. And just for the record, Your Honor, we're calling Kevin Clark one of probably several times in this case. Mr. Clark, could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your name for the record?
Good morning. My name is Kevin Clark, Kevinclark.
And Mr. Clark, where do you work?
I'm the Director of Crime Strategies and Intelligence for the 4th Judicial District Attorney's Office.
What kind of education and training do you have that allows you to do the work that you do?
I've got an Associate's of Applied Science degree in Communication Applications Technology, a bachelor's degree in Homeland Security, a master's degree in Project Management, and then I've earned undergraduate certificates, since I already have the bachelor's degree, in digital forensics, cybercrime, and database management. I've also received training by law enforcement agencies in cell phone tower and mapping data, fundamentals of crime intelligence analysis training, level 1 and level 2 of a program called GeoTime for cell phone data and mapping
maybe this is
program,
a cell phone expert.
as well as the FBI's cellular analysis survey team, level 1 and level 2 training.
And then as it relates to the investigation for Gannon Stauch, missing Gannon Stauch, how did you become involved in that investigation?
At the time, I was a senior criminal intelligence analyst for the Colorado Springs Police Department, assigned to their Metro Vice, Narcotics, and Intelligence Division. And in that capacity, I work with all the law enforcement agencies in the local area. We were aware of a missing child, and then I was asked on Saturday, February 1st, by my commander, if I'd be willing to go TDY to assist as lead analyst in this investigation for the next 30 to 60 days.
It might just be
Not everybody necessarily knows what TDY means.
Temporary duty. So instead of working at my normal office with the Colorado Springs Police Department, I worked primarily out of the command post.
And then as a result of your involvement in this investigation, do you know whether multiple search warrants were obtained for phone numbers?
They were.
What would you typically get when you issue a search warrant to a cell phone provider?
To a cell phone provider, so AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and then Sprint at the time, you would get something back called call detail records. The call detail records is just a business record full of dates and times with phone numbers that communicate with each other. So the outgoing call from the target phone number or the incoming call to the target phone number, what that phone number is, how long the duration of the call was, if the call was connected. Text messages, same thing. At this date, on this time, phone number 1 sent a text message, phone number 2, or on the receiving end of that, data sessions, and usually some sort of subscriber information, who pays the bill for that phone.
So do you submit a phone number to the cell phone provider to get that information?
You do.
Okay. So we just heard Ms. Hicks testifying about the defendant giving a reference for a person called Connie Huddle and listed the phone number 843-504-6724. Did you hear that testimony?
I did.
Based on your knowledge of that particular phone number, who is that phone number associated to?
Gannon Stauch.
Indicating that the defendant created that reference and used Gannon Stauch's phone number for that person.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cross-examination.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right.
Short,
All right,
sweet.
Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you.
So I'm going to call this guy.
witness will be available throughout the trial, and my understanding is going to be testifying at a later time.
At least 2 more times, Judge.
Go ahead and submit your question now. I'll hold on to it. It may be that we can ask it now. Do any of the jurors have any questions? Let me ask that. Oh, no. All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clark. You can go ahead and step down.
Yeah, I want to hear some cell phone tower stuff and see how that compares to, say, some other trials that we've been watching.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our lunch recess a little bit early. If I can have all of you back in the jury room at, say, 1:15, we should be able to start on time at that point. Again, do not discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. Don't do any research about any aspect of this case. And we'll see you back at 1:15. All rise for the jury, please.
They always come back, so I'm going to leave it up for a second. So she provides false credentials, calls herself a doctor, gives false references, gives her own phone number out as references, then has the audacity to get mad at the principal. Her husband had testified, or not her ex-husband, the father of Gannon, had testified on day 2 of the trial that she thought she was too good for the position she was in at a school.
Thank you. May all be seated. Record should reflect the jury has left the courtroom. So when we come back, that's when we're going to have the 30-minute video or so.
Yes, Judge. So it's People's Exhibit number 211. Defense has indicated that they'll stipulate to admission and publishing of this. It's a audio recording.
Okay. And then what's the plan for the rest of the afternoon?
What do we got? I can't hear you.
We just have more witnesses, obviously, Judge. Let's see. At some point today, we'll have Dr. Leon Kelly will come in to testify, Detective Marissa Williams. Depending on how far we get, Janine Sanchez and Nicole Mobley as well, and then a Deputy Chris Ganstein.
But we will not be getting to the person who did the autopsy today.
No, autopsy, doctor for autopsy is being flown in on Sunday, so she'll be first thing on Monday morning.
All right, we get the
Arranging all these
autopsy on
flights from
Monday.
Florida has been challenging.
I get it. Okay. All right. Anything from the defense? Okay, great. We'll see you.
All right.
Okay, so
Wow.
that's where we are. She just lies about everything constantly.
Yeah. That text
It's-
exchange was so like cringy.
Okay, so what was the last thing? Explain to me, because I was distracted with like real work. What was the last thing that she said she sounded angry with? Explain that to me.
Oh, it's because when she texted the principal that her stepdad got hit by a car or whatever, they asked her if basically, does that mean we need to get somebody to cover you? And she's like, well, it's my stepdad. I can't believe you aren't making that assumption. And then she went back and go, well, I'm not here to make assumptions or something. But the way she said it was just like so, like you couldn't just been like, oh, I'm sorry. You know.
Yes, I'm not going to be able to make it in.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it in. Yeah, she
And I
has to
just thought that
respond
was,
angrily.
like,
Yeah,
please.
well, that seems to be her MO. She's going to tell a bunch of lies, and when someone calls her out on it, she's going to get mad at them.
Well, that's what hit me was it seemed like just her style is like, oh, well, you're not, what? Like, do not believe me? Like, that's.
Yeah, I had to put Dr. Stauch up there. Stauch.
Yeah.
She's this woman. I don't know. I mean, nobody's going to believe her. Again, assume she's innocent for the sake of argument. No one's going to believe her because she lies about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just this case is not looking good for her. I was excited to see one. She's sitting upright a little bit more. She's not sort of hunched over, although she was the last witness, or the principal, anyways. And then the defense actually has some questions, not just like good questions, but any questions are better than no questions. So there's not a lot of cross. This is going to move fairly quick. They have 5 witnesses lined up for today, plus a video when we get back.
Yeah. A half-hour video.
Half-hour video when we get back. So we'll see what that's all about. In the meantime, I have an afternoon stream again, just so I don't get shut down on Facebook. And so I'm going to close this stream out, and then we'll be back at 3:00 my time for the afternoon stream. I think that's what they have. Let's see here. Yeah, they don't say. Yeah, but we'll be back at 3:00. That's when my next stream will start. And thank you for being here, Dave. I find it hard to kind of like have fun with this case as much as I did with the shenanigans of the other ones. The prosecution's doing a good job. The defense is horrible. I got to figure out a way to.
Eeyore is too perfect.
What's that?
That's all I can hear in my head now when he says, "No questions." It's just like, no questions.
Yeah, Eeyore. I'm going to put Eeyore big right in the middle of the screen every time they say no questions. I'm going to figure out a way to do that. So I'll work on that during the break and get some food and do some other stuff. And then I will see everybody back here at 3:00 for the afternoon of this trial. We're not going to get to the autopsy, but we should have. These videos and recorded phone calls are really interesting. They show a side of her, which I'm kind of I'm enjoying to some extent. So we'll see how that goes.
All right.
And we'll be back.
Bye.